Hey everyone, old school Pokemon here, back again for podcast episode number 42, take number 2. Got about 20 minutes into this episode, and Dan realized it was just his audio that you could hear, so
Good
back
thing it was
again.
only 20 minutes in, though, and not 4 hours in, you know? It very well could have been.
I feel like if that had happened, we would have just posted it and pretend like we didn't know. So you would have gotten 4 hours of them just miming, mouthing it, and then me talking just periodically. Yeah, so. So these first 2 questions that we answer, you're going to get our rehearsed versions. We've talked out loud about them, we've thought them through, and you're going to take 2 on them. So really refined answers on these first 2.
Oh, come on, you're setting the bar pretty high there.
Yeah. But, so anyway, like I said 20 minutes ago, we are joined by our special guest this week, TheOldeCardShoppe, Josh. Thanks for coming on with us, Josh. How are we doing tonight?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. It is somewhat surreal to be here on one of my favorite podcasts, my second favorite podcast, right behind Cardboard Hands, of course. Anyway, thank you so much for having me, guys. Yes, if you haven't seen me or heard of me before, well, I'm happy for you. Honestly, you've gotten away with quite the endeavor, dodging the old card shop this long in the hobby. If you've made your way to PokeFlipz. But I'm another Pokemon YouTuber here in the space. We have a podcast called Cardboard Hands. If you didn't catch that little clip there, we love listening to PokeFlipz, though. It's one of my literal favorite things that I look forward to on YouTube. So it's really nice to be here. Yeah, and if anyone wants to come find me, I also stream on Whatnot. I'm one of those dirty, evil Whatnot streamer, pack breaker, flippers, whatever you want to call us. Whatever names they are these days. But yeah, we stream there live probably 4 or 5 times a week, and we have a good time with it. So yeah, how are you guys today?
I'm doing well. Still doing well 20 minutes after the gaff, but yeah, I will definitely let everyone know. We'll link below all those things, but I listen every episode of Cardboard Hands. I'm a big fan too. I would rank them number 2 behind ours, but that's just the way that goes. Couple good podcasts we've got going. So today's itinerary, I guess, we're gonna do our questions. We've got 4 questions from last episode, and then Denver. We're gonna talk Denver. Just a few days back, we all were in Denver together, Collecticon, so there's going to be a lot of conversation about that. Thankfully, we should have all 3 of our audio for that portion and all portions of this episode.
And if not, we'll wait till it gets really spicy, and then it'll start cutting out. Yeah. We'll make sure of that, and then we'll tell you you have to wait just a little longer. It's really just a ploy to get more watch time. And
yeah.
This long, 6.9 minutes into the podcast, like and subscribe, right, guys? That's what we like and subscribe. We're you guys are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. You're almost there. I think you're what, on like 800-900 or something at this point. You've got to be knocking on the door.
Little over 900. We're getting there.
Yeah, so with you guys watching's help, we're gonna get these guys to 1,000. Then they can stop eating ramen every night, and we can actually get some meat on their bones. I just saw them both in person, and man, they're looking like skeletons these days. It's from all the ramen they're eating, guys. I was like trying to go out to dinner with these guys. I was like, hey guys, let's go get some food. And they're like, oh no, sorry, we're eating back at the hotel. We bought our peanut butter and jelly. So I was like, really? And they're like, yeah, we had to call it an early night. All this this Pokemon empire doesn't build itself here. No. But anyway, let's get back into the questions.
We'll go back into the yeah.
Before we get too heavily into the Denver thing, people need to know. They need to know about the Charizard UPCs.
Oh, yes.
They are everywhere. They're literally on every website. If you haven't gotten one by now, this is going to probably come out, tomorrow or something? Like, is it
tomorrow
Thursday? Yeah. So if you haven't right now, I don't even have to look. Like currently they're on Walmart and they were on Target for about 69 hours. And I'm pretty sure if you were to look now when this podcast airs, 7-Eleven at your local, down at your local 7-Eleven, they're going to have it. You can walk down to the Wawa, probably pre-order at least 69 of them there. You can probably get them at your local Quiznos too. And then, oh yeah, Rudy told me that they're going to be using them as speed bumps at Taco Bell too. So anyway, UPC talk. We'll be getting there at some point, but question time.
There we go. Since we don't know how to edit, Josh is going to do the transitional audio for us. He's got that part covered.
Yeah, modern Pokemon's crashing hard, so I need to find some alternate source of revenue here. So I'm finding I'm squeezing out every bit of money I can out of this hobby, guys.
So
optimization.
Yeah, we like that word.
Of the game.
Professor Oak, who unfortunately we didn't get to see in Denver, but hopefully we'll get to see. Hopefully all three of us will be attending Orlando, and I think that is the plan, but we'll touch more on that later, surely. But Oak has a question for us. What do you think collectors most want out of a Pokemon card? Cool art, rarity, fun Pokemon, or something else? Last time, I'm going to give the same answer this time. I think the ideal scenario is the perfect intersection of all four. Or all three with whatever other you want to add in there. To me, if the question had said, what do you think most collectors most want? I think it would be art, cool art. That's evidenced by Evolving Skies going to the moon. That's evidenced by the Charizard UPC hype. A little bit of bringing in the species in there, but Moonbreon. Look at what Moonbreon's doing in spite of reprint after reprint. So when you're talking about mass appeal, cool art is the lead dog, the top dog in that. When you're talking about historic nature, when you're talking about the actual like peak summit of the hobby, as far as like dollars go, it's more rarity. It's still not all rarity though, as evidenced by the Pikachu Illustrator. That is not the rarest card. That is a good intersection of a great Pokemon, Pikachu, a cool release, cool history. It's a great intersection of all the things, and it's got a pretty cool art. But it's not like peak of any one of those, I wouldn't say. It just has a really good blend. And I mean, if you want like the most historic, you might look at like the #1 Pikachu or maybe the Illustrator because of its nature. Coolest art, highly subjective, but some of these other things are a bit more objective. But as far as broad appeal, most collectors, it's the latest ultra modern, coolest art, generally speaking. What do you think, Josh?
That's right. We're after the last one, we're going the opposite direction here. Okay, yeah. So same sort of answer here. I do agree with Dan. It's sort of a mixture of all of them. If you're a Pokemon company and you're like designing a card and you really want it to be the best of all of those worlds, but obviously you can't always have everything. So if you had to choose like what the most important thing is, judging based on just like the cards that are the most popular in the Pokemon hobby, the ones that are doing sort of the best, are also not necessarily they're not always the most rare cards. While I do think rarity is important for like Chase, like the Moonbreon being one in like 1,000 packs or something, that probably certainly boosts the price up just a little bit. If you got one in every pack, then it wouldn't necessarily have the price or the demand that it has now. But I don't think that's like why people like it. I think it is mostly art. And you see that with things like the Japanese post office promos, like the Cramorant, Pikachu looking back. Those things were printed to the ground. There's nothing rare about them at all. They literally printed wave after wave of those. And they even said they'd print as many as needed. And they're really, really just great art. They're not rare. You get them in every single box, and they grade really well too. So those cards, as well as the Munch Scream promos in the same vein from Japan, any of those really, really cool, beautiful, objectively great arts, the Hidden Fates, stained glass birds, even that Charizard from Champion's Path, that full art Charizard, that beautiful, like that pinkish, purplish background. I think that's a really beautiful card, and it shows how liquid and how many people like it. It is just CGI 5-band graphics, but we'll give it a pass in the sense that it's a Charizard. So I think that good art's really important. As far as like the other things though, it really is, if you have those other things going for it, you see things like the Moonbreon. Like, why isn't the Duraludon VMAX which is also just as rare as that Moonbryon to pull. Why isn't the Duraludon Alt Art VMAX $1,000 too? Well, damn it, it's because it's not an Umbreon. So there is something to be said about Pokemon species. There's something to be said about rarity too, because why is the alternate art Charizard from Brilliant Stars not the Moonbryon? Why is not, Charizard is objectively a more popular Pokemon than Umbreon, but Umbreon is a more difficult pull than the Charizard. The Charizard is actually a quite easy pull comparatively. It's like 1 out of 400 or 500 packs. Whereas with Evolving Skies, it's a much more difficult pull. So rarity definitely has something to do with some of that, like that demand. So like there really is a balance. And that's one thing that I'll say that Pokemon does a lot better than some other companies. And honestly, this is something that leads me to think about like why I don't think we need serialization in Pokemon is that they do such a good job with like that ultra rarity, that Moonbryon, that Rayquaza VMAX, that even the Giratina, the regular V, it's not even a VMAX, just the V Giratina. All the new alt arts are super hard to hit, but they're all very desirable, even though they're not really popular Pokemon, but they're very rare. Pokemon does a great job without having to put serialized numbers and put a handcuff on themselves and make it so they can't do reprints because, gosh, what happens if Evolving Skies hits $1,000 a booster box? If they had a numbered Moonbryon in Evolving Skies, like 1 through 100, and Evolving Skies goes to $1,000, yeah, the argument's not going to be that little Timmy is not going to get his Evolving Skies anymore. It's that little Timmy's retirement isn't going to be able to be liquidated fast enough to get one spot in the booster box break. He's literally going to be getting one single card. It's probably going to be the energy in the pack. And he's liquidating the retirement for it. That's the conversation we're having if there was numbered Pokemon cards. They're already rare enough. That Moonbryon's 1 in 1,000 packs. What more can people want? Okay, so not to go on a bit of a tangent, but I think the art is very important, but rarity is kind of important too. And yeah, you need the Pokemon to be good, and there's probably some other little X factor that goes around with it too, like if it's a trophy or something, like a cool story, or if an influencer pumped it to all hell, and and that's something, right? That's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I would pretty much agree with you guys. I think Josh summed it up really good. It's definitely a combination of everything. Cool art, rarity, and a good popular Pokemon is definitely the perfect combination. But if you had to choose one, I would agree with both of you. Cool art is definitely would be the top of my list, and I would just echo what you said. Look at the alt arts, super popular, and the reason why those cards are so popular is even though a lot of them aren't popular Pokemon, it's because the artwork on those cards is really good. So I would definitely say artwork is definitely the biggest factor there.
And just putting in one bit of a disclaimer too, like cool art and fun Pokemon, highly subjective things that are finicky. They change over time. So historic nature, rarity, things like that are more objective and tend to not change. First base is always going to be first base. That whole conversation that always comes up. So that's not to say that like Moonbryon is going to last forever because it's the coolest art. Very subjective things that change with over time.
So I want to know what's going to happen when they start releasing the shiny variants of alternate arts. Is it going to be like the same thing that happened with the shiny variants of the full arts in like Sun and Moon, where literally people don't care about the regular ones anymore? Like, I only want the shiny one. Like, does that mean that?
Yeah, that's like the known back during the Gold Star era, back during the Legend era, things like that. People probably didn't ever theorize specifically of like someday they'll do alt arts, but now like a known obvious thing, shiny alt arts. They're there in the back pocket whenever they want to use them. So yeah, we have a known like next tier. It's sitting right there.
On the shelf, whenever they start to see it starting to go down, whenever people are like, we need serialized cards, like hold my beer.
We got you.
We got you.
That's another decade or two. Let's do shiny alt arts for now.
Yeah.
Next question.
So
Nick.
next question, Taki Bana asks, considering a good portion of your business likely runs on what I'd call replenishable. Do you have any insight or advice in regards to what you would do if you were starting up again without your current inventory? Let's assume in this hypothetical that you also can't make use of your following or continue the consigned part of your business. Genuinely curious. A friend of mine recently sent off 50 character rares and trainer gallery cards from Incandescent to CGC and did quite well. But I'm having a hard time processing if this is just dumb luck or not. So my answer to this would be, obviously it depends on like where you're at financially. If you just have a ton of money, my answer would be a little bit differently. But if you're a normal person trying to do this, which I think most people are, I would kind of repeat what I repeated in the past. Obviously, I would make a few changes, but generally speaking, I would be looking for those bigger collections. I buy a lot more on the different Pokemon Facebook groups than I do eBay nowadays, but I would be looking on eBay, Facebook, Instagram, all those different sites for collections that you can purchase. Break down those collections, sell the bigger cards in those collections as just single raw cards, and then all of the lesser valued cards, build complete common, uncommon sets, sell them as small lots, do something like that. And just kind of rinse and repeat that cycle. So buy collections, sell them, kind of build up an inventory, build up some cash flow, and then after a while, once you've kind of built that up, then start looking into integrating. Personally, when you're first starting out, I would probably be looking into CGC over PSA, just because you're going to get that turnaround time much quicker than you would with PSA. PSA, you're going to be waiting a lot longer to get those cards returned to you. So I think CGC would be the play if you're just starting out. And then in terms of like specifics for your inventory, I would focus on like the older cards, WotC, EX era, Diamond and Pearl, Black and White, and avoid modern stuff. Just because with the older cards, you're going to be having a lot less competition with other sellers. Where if you try and get in with modern product, you're going to be having a lot more competition with other sellers, people on eBay. Plus, the margins are going to be smaller on that type of stuff. Another thing, so modern English is what I would avoid there. Japanese, on the other hand, modern Japanese, like your friend was doing, I do think that is a play if you're in the United States, Europe, somewhere outside of Japan, just because those cards are harder there's a barrier to entry for those types of cards. Where if you can figure out that barrier to entry, basically figuring out how to use Bai, Yahoo Japan, all that stuff, you're at a bigger advantage to a lot of people. Personally, I still do not know how to use Bai, Yahoo Japan, any of those sites. So I do not buy anything from any of those sites. So if you can do that, you're already a leg up on me in that section of the market. So that's definitely a play as well. Basically, you want to be in an area that you have as little competition as possible. You don't want to be selling modern singles right out of the gate, because there is a ton of competition with that, and you're definitely going to get it's going to be a race to the bottom. You're going to be getting undercut constantly. It's not a fun time unless you know what you're doing. So if you're just starting out, I would definitely start with like the higher margin type of stuff. And then one more thing that I didn't add in the first recording here that Josh briefly touched on is your reputation and your following. That's the biggest thing. You definitely want to, in the beginning, make sure that you're providing like the best customer service. You're answering any type of emails that people send you, just because reputation and following are two massive components. I know I was talking to someone who had just gotten started selling on eBay, and when you're just starting out, you can't really command any type of premium for any type of card, because nobody knows whether or not your condition scale is going to be accurate or not. Whereas if I was listing that card, I could list it for a slight premium above the lowest list on eBay, just because there's more people who would purchase from me based off of my following and reputation than that slightly cheaper card that some random person listed. So definitely make sure to be good to your customers, provide good support, and all of that stuff to build up your reputation and following. But that's all I got. What do you got, Josh?
I mean, first of all, I really like the question. I think it's very interesting because I think depending on how the question is taken, it could really go a bunch of different ways. But I do feel like that question does directly apply to me because a lot of my portion of my business does actually directly run on replenishables. And sort of the question is posed in such a way that they're basically asking if you had to do it all over again, what would you change? And so I like the way that that's formulated, so I'll take a shot at it. I personally think that right now in this environment, like if you were thinking about diving in, it's not a bad time. I think that there are more people involved in the Pokemon hobby now than there have ever been who actually want to be involved. Like maybe we had more people last year, like specifically in it because everyone was like going to the moon together. But I would argue some of those people they shouldn't have been in the hobby and they're gone. The people who shouldn't have been are probably gone. So, like, to answer the question, I think you really have to answer a question about yourself is like, what are your intentions with your business, or what are your intentions with what you're trying to like start if you're going to like start from scratch? And if I was going to do this, what I'm doing now, which has evolved over the time that I've started my business and gone through the pandemic and gone through the run of the market, I mean, I haven't always been a modern pack breaker. I started off as someone who supplied packs for modern pack breakers until my supply of modern packs sort of dwindled and I started getting allocated really hard. And I basically, the 3 or 4 breakers on Facebook that I was supplying, I could no longer supply in bulk. I could barely get enough to basically sell online on my TCG player account. And so I then started breaking myself because it's like I had so little product, I had to cut out the middleman. So it's like your business has to evolve. And this is already after I had a distributor too. So like I'd gone through the whole buying singles and collections, selling them on eBay, doing that whole, that sort of grind. So like it really depends on your intentions when you're starting. Like, and I intended on doing like a side job with Pokemon. Like I had a full-time job at the time. I basically wanted to get the benefits of buying through a distributor and having the tax write-offs and essentially just the benefits of having a business with it and the sales tax exemption and that kind of thing. And so I decided to go into it that way, and it's definitely evolved into more than that as the pandemic raged on and profits went to the moon. And essentially, my regular job got shut down during the pandemic. I was in the hospitality industry, and then I turned into a full-time Pokemon breaker, basically. And so it's really about being fluid, I think. And as far as like in this environment, like I think it's a great time to be involved with Pokemon because like things are cheap. I think that while you still can't really get easily in with a distributor, if you just wanted to walk in the door and start like opening an account, because I remember I was able to open an account basically. I called a few distributors and wham bam, thanks, ma'am, signed the paperwork, make sure you had your EIN and your business and all that kind of stuff. And it was pretty easy to get started. It's not quite that easy now yet, but I think we're getting closer to that. And I think that the more people that fall off and the more businesses, I hate to say that shouldn't have been here, that were doing irresponsible things, maybe didn't have a great following or customer base or weren't doing great business practices, so their customers weren't loyal. These things, they'll fall off and more spots will open up for distributors. And they have a lot of product. They have a lot more product now than they had ever before. So they want to sell that product. And that product will not sell itself. I will tell you that. As someone who sells Lost Origin, yeah, Lost Origin doesn't sell itself, guys. It's not like where, oh, I got Lost Origin packs and I got a whole round of people around me who are like fighting, elbowing at the door to get it. I mean, they're coming to me because they like my streams and because I've spent the time building a following and the grind over the course of the years to build that following. So like if you are thinking about jumping in right now, I would go about it the same way as I did. I would do what Nick said and I'd start buying collections like you probably already doing, or going to your old binder and finding the things you don't necessarily want for your own personal collection and piecing that out and turning that into things you do want and working your way up from there and sort of building up. the first thing you should do though is start a TCG player and an eBay account. Like honestly, the one thing that on my podcast that I constantly harp on, that I think that a lot of people that listen, a lot of people in the hobby who are engaged with the hobby will literally go through the hobby and never sell a card. They won't ever get rid of a card. And I hear it on my streams. I hear it in YouTube videos all the time. Every time a card gets pulled, oh, we made money. And I see a little number pop up in green in the top right corner. Ching! That little ching doesn't happen until you've taken that card, listed it, put it in an envelope, sent it off. It's been delivered, checked as delivered. And then 2 days later, yeah, then you hear a little ching in your account. That's when that happens. That ching doesn't happen right when you pull the card. It's not immediately, Charizard stonking into your bank account the minute it goes out of the booster pack. These things don't sell themselves. So like it is very much so one of those things you have to have realistic expectations about. Pokemon, if you weren't doing this already, like nobody who was in the whole ride to the moon, the rocket ship to the moon in 2021, nobody who benefited from that, they weren't like brand new to the hobby. They didn't just step into Pokemon and make $1 million. They like maybe if you already had $1 million, Logan Paul, then you stepped into the hobby and you did some things and you made some money. But like nobody who wasn't already really established in some other way, shape, or form, or in Pokemon, like rode that rocket. You had to already kind of be there. Like, so otherwise, like you're probably sitting there because prices are down below what it was at 2021 at that point. So you're probably not doing well right now if that was the case. And so, like, it's about putting in the time. It's about the grind. It's about wanting to be here, I think. And I think that right now, like, you could definitely do that. Like, there's more people in the hobby. There's podcasts about this thing. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, when I started my podcast, you guys were one of the 5 other Pokemon podcasts that literally existed out there. There was, I think, 5 of them that I could find. I was searching for them. And now there's probably dozens, So it's definitely a bigger and better place to be. And if I had to go back and do it again, yeah, I'd do the same thing. I'd go get a distributor. I'd start working that grind. Even if you're not going to go start streaming or whatever, just having that ability, like I think Dan and we talked about it on one of our lives before, just having the ability to buy at wholesale costs, if you are willing to put in that extra effort to just, do what you need to do that. You have to buy some extra things like theme deck cases. You're going to have to get some Infernape V boxes. You're going to get stuck with some stuff you probably don't want. So be aware that's a thing, and that comes with having a distributor. But like I always grew up going to Costco. Like that was always my parents' and my family's business model. I buy in bulk for the most part. So like it is just natural for me to want to move in that direction with no matter what I do for the most part. And so that's sort of how I approached working with, in the hobby, and just I would start building in scale. And so I guess don't ever start there, but you build your way up, and over time, you kind of grow into whatever it is you're meant to be. And I guess, like I said earlier, is just you got to be somewhat fluid. I didn't intend to like be breaking packs when I started my business. Like I had a website. I was selling through my website online mostly, but now I hardly even use my website. I can't remember the last sale I had on my website. And so like, it's a totally different situation. So it's just, about being fluid, I think. So, and in my most roundabout way, I took up like 20 minutes on that question. I apologize everyone who's listening for the ear bleed that was listening to me ramble. But yeah, that's sort of what I guess I would say. Oh, and about Japanese, yeah, just great Japanese. It's just print, like just literally great Japanese with CGC, modern Japanese CGC. Get 10s, print, reprint, and like people overpay for it. Do it over and over. Yeah. I mean, bai, whatever, barrier to entry, all that stuff. Yada 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 yada. I get it, absolutely. I agree, 100%. I hear all of you. I'm not doing any of that, but your friend is doing it. Power to him. You should do more of it, probably. It'll work. I just got one thing to say about that is it's going to work until it won't.
So
that's all. People overpaying until they won't.
At this point in the podcast, we're into new territory. I had not yet answered this question, so I'm giving this for the first time. We're 9 minutes behind the first take, so we're going longer with the second rehearsed versions. But with that, I think Nick and Josh both had great answers, and I would echo. I'll just recap quickly, taking my favorite parts of each. I would do largely the same way I did. I think Nick and I do a lot of similar things. We do them slightly differently, but in the same vein. One important thing Josh touched on, and I forget exactly how he said it, but starting part-time, starting on the side, I think that's a really important thing. I frequently, over the past year and a half since I quit my job to do this full-time, I've had people approach me, hey, do you think I'm in the position to do it? I gave myself the most amount of runway I possibly could. I went into it with no debt. I went into it with, it was a side gig that ballooned because of the absurdity of 2020, where I was making more on my side gig than I was making in my main job. Not that that's completely replicable for everybody. But yeah, I did it in the safest way possible, giving myself the most runway possible if things were to get bumpy. And that's the only way I would have gone into this personally, just due to my risk tolerance, but everyone's scenario is so different. So all you can really do is take stock of what you have going on financially and make sure it's all going to work. If and when things get bumpy, generally it's a fairly cash poor industry. A bad set or two in a row can put a lot of people under. I set myself up. 2 bad years in a row wouldn't have put me under. And we've had, like, it's been a weird year and a half since I've quit. Prices are largely down in a lot of ways, but it's still so healthy today, in my opinion. There's so many plays. There's so many things you can do. Yeah, that's my take on this question, but really good question.
Yeah, I really like that question. I think it got us really like thinking about like how to answer it in like the right way, which is nice.
Yeah. Next question comes in from Michael. Do you have any tips for a person trying to find ungraded first edition WotC cards that are not in horrendous condition? I'm happy to pay fair market price, but I'm finding vintage cards listed as near mint or light play from TCG Player or other online websites are not always as advertised. Many eBay listings also seem absurd. Maybe I'm just not utilizing these sites properly, but any advice you can give a new scrub in the Pokemon card collecting world would be appreciated. I guess step one, the first thing that comes to mind, like Troll and Toad is also there. Troll and Toad near mint gets this really bad rap. I'm a big Troll and Toad Evo seller. The cards that I see rejected or downgraded from near mint to like lightly played, heavily played, their lower condition classifications, in my opinion, they downgrade like some pretty nice cards. They call them below near mint. So if and when you get a card that's not meeting the expectations, not meeting like the guidelines of the platform, and you need to be careful because every platform has their own guidelines on what light play means, what near mint means. But these platforms have good return policies, generally speaking. So if you're actually getting duped, if you're actually getting scammed, you're buying a near mint, stated near mint, backed up by Troll and Toad, and you get like a heavy play thing, return it. Like that's the initial easy answer in my opinion. But it's a bit tough out there. This is a thing that, going back to the last question, I originally got into it 8 years ago. Craigslist was more plentiful, even in the woods where I live. eBay was more plentiful with really clean binder collections. It is going to get harder year over year because every year that passes on the calendar, these original things, even though a lot of people have them in their closets, attics, wherever, a lot of the cleanest ones walked out in 2020. Every successive year, more and more of them are coming out. And yeah, they're all just 1 year older, 1 year extra of handling or the elements getting to them. There's no like magical oasis that we can just point you to saying, here are plentiful, raw, true near mint, gradable condition cards for at or below market. It's a bit of a grind if you're trying to find the truly great deals. Because as the hobby's expanded, as so many people got into it, there's a lot more eyes constantly searching. It's been years since I've done the eBay newly listed, trying to snipe things as they went up. But I'm not doing it, but there are a lot of people still doing it too. So that's I guess what I'd say. One thing, like, and it's not like a quick, easy thing you can do, growing your community presence, whether that's various Discords, Instagrams, Facebook groups, like having the YouTube channel now, it doesn't directly make me a ton of money. I'm not like killing it with the affiliate links or killing it with the ad revenue. It's something, but my hourly rate is pretty pitiful. But a lot of people know that I buy collections. A lot of people reach out to me. And I have a very, very good one to show that came to me because people know that I look for that kind of inventory. So putting yourself out there in whatever way, in whatever community it is. E4 years ago, that was like my original social presence. And yeah, people would just like know who I was, know what I was after, and sometimes things would find me. That's like a great supplemental side of like the whole social media aspect tying into your business.
To be 100% honest with you, Michael, I think that your question, you might have answered it yourself. He wants to know where he can pay fair market value for first edition WotC cards that are not in horrendous condition. Lucky for him, I know a couple of companies that will grade most cards if you send them a couple of bucks with it. And most of the time, ironically enough, those graded 6 through 7s, sometimes 8s, will go lower than raw near mint copies of the same cards that come up to auction in like raw auctions on eBay. For example, like if you were to put like PSA 8 quality like base set Hitmonchan up, I just bought a Hitmonchan in like PSA 6, so the market on that I'm somewhat familiar with. If you're going to put that up for auction per se as a raw near mint card, I would gather or venture to say that it might have a chance at going higher because of that like gambler's premium. Someone looking at the card is going to say, oh, it could get a 9, or they'll think it'll grade even a 10 because they don't know better. When in reality it's an 8 because it has a couple little white dots, or it's off center, it has some scratches, whatever it is. It's an old card. They're 25 years old at this point. They're very old. And so to your point, Dan, they're getting harder and harder every day to find as well. So like Michael, honestly, the best thing you could do, most cost-effective thing you could do is to take advantage of that grading fever, hype, over frenzy that happened in the last couple of years, where literally PSA 6s through 7s that should have just been binder copies of cards got sent to PSA for no reason to go live in someone's palms off gaming and then go into a convention case just to sit there for how knows to get passed around from old card shop to old card shop to old card shop until it finally gets sold. Where's my play? I'll play ball. Yeah. And so like crack that baby. Crack that baby out of its prison, baby. Crack it out. Get yourself a nice near mint 7, PSA near mint 7. You go in those Beckett and CGC 7s, you're getting a little risky. You're going to see like a big old bend in the card or something, but you're pretty safe with like PSA 7s and above, unless they really miss something. Like if you don't want to bend or something really egregious with your card, it's very cost effective. And if you're not afraid of just cracking it out of a slab, which PSA slabs are the easiest to crack, they're like made of plastic. They're like literally made of plastic, but the flimsiest plastic, the cheapest plastic you can imagine. Nat Turner, that bottom line, baby. And so, yeah, just get yourself a near mint PSA card and crack it out. And I think you'll be none the wiser. No one will be none the wiser that it used to be in this ugly 7. Because let's be real, if it's not a 10, if it's not a 1, and it's not a 9 for a lot of people, it literally shouldn't be in a slab. It's just stupid. I mean, maybe some people like certain cards and it's kind of your favorite Pokemon and you don't care about the number, and then sure, slab whatever you want. But like, as far as like squeezing value out of the card and like talking about fair market value, you're going to get more than fair market value buying those numbers, because just nobody collects PSA 7s. Literally nobody. But there are binder collectors out there.
Buy the bird in the hand. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked your answer a lot. I would agree with that. And then just to add some other points there, on TCG Player, I don't know if I would buy WotC Hollows, even like first edition WotC Hollows, just because TCG Player doesn't require you to have any type of pictures. When I'm spending that much money on, especially like WotC cards, I do want pictures. With Modern, it's a little bit different because you kind of expect that Modern's going to be near mint condition because it's so new. But where WotC's so old, it's tough. But if you do want to buy on TCG Player, look at their feedback. Even if it does say like 99.9% positive feedback. Look at their feedback and see what the negative and neutral feedbacks are all about. Whether or not it's about the condition being less than advertised, or else like slow shipping or no communication or something like that, and purchase from those sellers who don't have those neutral negative feedbacks about condition. And then on eBay, I would say it goes against my business, but buy from sellers who are new to selling on eBay. And the reason why I say that is because within my listings, unless it's over a certain price point, I only use one picture and I don't provide any more pictures just because it's way too much work. But someone new on eBay who's just getting started doesn't have as many listings, they'll probably work with you and send you multiple pictures, front, back, whatever, so that you can get an idea on the condition of the card yourself before you actually go ahead and purchase it. But yeah, that's what all the different stuff I would have to give for that question.
And it probably still applies, but it's probably a bit harder to find. If and when you buy, say you take a chance on a new seller, the photos are decent. If and when you get a minty card in, hit them up. Hey, do you have more? Try to get that connection. Save the seller. Like, it's rare to find them, but when you do, make sure you get all of it.
Yeah. Make sure that you take them off. Take them out to dinner. Wine and dine them. If you're CTR, you maybe do a little farther with her. But no, just kidding. But maybe not though. Maybe not. Who knows? Who knows, right? But going one thing real quick about the front and back pictures. Just because you said something, and I want to get a little spicy here. When somebody pictures, or if you already have a front and back picture and someone asks you for more additional pictures, where are you? Are you sending or are you ignoring? Are you sending, and then when they buy the card, are you worried? Like, where are you? Nick first, because I want to hear from you.
I'll respond back to everyone, just because I don't like completely ignoring them, but I basically say, you already have a front and back picture. Look at my feedback. I know what I'm talking about. Buy it or don't buy it.
A response with that, you literally will give them that.
I say it a little bit nicer than that, but
you won't bring your shopping cart back, but you will literally respond to these trolls online. What is this? Okay, all right, Dan, where are you at?
That's why I can't bring my shopping cart back, because I'm spending so much time answering these emails.
Okay, guys, that's what you get. That's the trade-off. Nick is an amazing Pokemon seller, but your cars are in danger in the parking lots. You can never ever leave your car without sweating, but at least you'll get your Pokemon cards in good condition if he says it is. So there we go. Where are you at on this?
I only sell graded, so I say see the pictures, see the grade. If you don't like it, don't buy it. I do not that's what the message is. Going further, I do not need this individual sale. If and when they follow up, if and when they get offended by that, I just my block list is long, and I don't miss any of those people I've added to it.
For me, it depends on the card itself. If it's a card, for me, whether it's going to have a front and back picture or whether it's going to be something I respond to. If it's listed without a back picture, the most likely it's going to be a quantity, and it's going to be something I have multiples of. And if they want the specific card that's listed, they're going to be shit out of luck. So I won't even warrant a response to that type of thing. And, to be 100% honest with you, I'd say 99 times out of 100. You go through the extra work, you deal with a really, really troublesome person. They say, hey, I'm looking for a really good copy of X, Y, or Z. Let me just tell you, the card is never good enough.
They don't buy it.
One seller for the buyer, it's never. So if it is good enough, they want it for too cheap of a price. And they never want to pay the premium for going through all that extra work. Because you spent 10 hours going back and forth, sending a front picture, a back picture, the right corner. Oh, could you get that light on a little more? Could you do a little video possibly? I'm really looking for a good centered one for my daughter's birthday. She really loves those Jolteon alternate. You know how hard they are. I keep on trying to message people, but their Jolteons are always bad. How many more people's time have you wasted, dude? That's what I always want to tell these people. So no. Do people who ask for more questions from the old card shop get more? No.
I just had.
Come at me, bro. I'm sorry.
my one exception, if someone comes to me with a specific request, then I'm more likely to do it. Hey, I just want to be sure there's no print lines. Can you check? Can you send another angle? If they specify why it is, I'll be more likely to do it. but almost always, like I literally just added a back picture. They said, hey, the case is pretty dusty. I can't tell what's whitening, what's not. So I wiped off the dust, took another back picture. You know what the next thing was? Will you take 50% below the list price? Like it was a clean,
Yeah.
it was a clean, no, it was like a pretty clean CGC 9.5. They were probably looking to get a PSA 10 though. It probably could have gotten one, but it probably had some small thing. Like most times if they're doing it on a 10, I'm more likely to like, okay, let's play ball. It's a 10. They're not trying to upgrade it, though they could be going black label. They could be doing something. But if they have a specific request, hey, is that dust? Is that whitening? Is that a print line?
What's the game on a 10? Like, why would someone ask about seeing the back of a 10? I guess to see if it's a good 10 or not, but so then is that just a chargeback waiting to happen? In which case, I'm not motivated to sell to you in the first place.
I love label buyers. Label buyers don't ask questions. Hey, that has a 1-0 in the top right. Buy it now. Boom. That is my ideal buyer.
People claim that they're not label buyers and they'll pay more for a good one, and so, but I don't buy that. I don't buy it. I just never do. So yeah, it's a red flag. It's a red flag for me, bro. That's all it is. Like maybe a couple of them don't have back pictures, and that's not by any if I list a bunch of things or whatever, and I forget to put a big back picture because I'm like listing and I don't put the second photo on my list. Sure. Just message me. I'll definitely send you a back picture or whatever. That's not intentional. But if it's got front and back pictures and you're looking for more, oh hell no. Yeah. I'm probably not even gonna sell it. I'm not gonna want to sell it to you. You're gonna have to pay full price, not even $5 off, because unless it's the buy it now price, I'm not gonna want to sell it to that person because it's just waiting for a chargeback. Yeah. It's just and then you're worried. I don't know. There's all kinds of worries. So yeah, people may hear a lot of my takes, I feel and they may come across as heartless, or it may come across as a little bit cold. But I really, as a seller, I think I'm very reasonable about what I feel and my beliefs and why I do the things that I do as a seller. So when buyers are unreasonable, and I'm just willing to say it, I'm just willing to call it out. So I hope nobody's offended by that takes, but being a needy buyer is sort of a red flag in some regards when it comes to those graded cards. I guess when you're talking raw, it's a whole nother thing. Oh, I will say one thing. Go to Whatnot. Just go to a live streaming app. Just stop going to TCG Player. If you're really looking to be nitpicky about a card, go to a live stream where literally the camera is on. You can see all the angles of the card. It's going in live time. You're probably going to get it for less than market anyway. It doesn't go for higher than market most of the time. Don't believe what all those YouTubers say about you. Unless you're a million plus Whatnot streamer, your cards are probably going to go for under market if you put them on auction. So if you're really looking to be nitpicky and have some fun winning some auctions for under value, go to one of those. It doesn't have to be Whatnot. If you don't like Whatnot,
or go to a convention. I mean, go to your LGS, go to a convention, hold it in person, your own eyes.
Yeah, that's the time and place to be nitpicky. It's not the time and place to be nitpicky on TCG Player when you're not looking at pictures and these businesses are literally just trying to post their cards, and then they have to deal with chargebacks, people sending them back because it's not minty enough, or they have to deal with these collectors trying to get PSA 10s at near mint minus or light played plus prices, and it's just ridiculous out here sometimes. It's the double standards. So I'm just not here for it. So I will call it like I sees it. Calls them like I sees them. That's all.
Josh is getting fired up.
It's gonna be a good podcast, y'all. It's gonna be a good podcast.
So next question from Stuart. What carrier does PSA typically use to return moderately sized orders, approximately 200 cards? And do you get to choose it all? I'm expecting to pay for my first sub at the $18 tier soon and want to know if I can use a PO box. It's kind of weird. In the past, every single PSA return that I've gotten has been sent USPS registered mail, which is very, very slow, but the most reliable service. However, I did get one that was sent. I forget if it was either FedEx or UPS. I forget which one, but it was only one return has been sent like that. The rest are all USPS. I don't know if you guys ever
never used FedEx. If they ever sent my PSA back with a FedEx return, I would be so worried. I would literally not be able to sleep the entire week and a half it took to get there. Have you guys noticed that FedEx is just the objectively the worst of all the companies? Like, I'm sorry. Sorry for
You
anyone
watch what you say there. I actually like FedEx.
They're not
What?
near to me, so I don't use them at all.
FedEx is better than UPS.
Oh, they've lost so many packages for me, and their customer service is the worst, and they're so expensive. No, no FedEx for me. Sorry. So, all right, we're split on that one. I thought I was gonna have a little team there of anti-FedEx, and I was wrong. No, but as far as like what I'm aware of, I've always gotten mine USPS registered mail. And I think that when you're making your order, when you're choosing your shipment, you have the choice, like when you're shipping, how they're shipping it back. So it's very much so on how you choose to have it shipped back. So you should have already chose that if you've already put in your order. If you haven't already put in your order, you will choose that on checkout. So like I just made like 3 PSA orders. I put out over 300 cards to PSA in the last 3 or 4 days here. So I know the website like the back of my hand, unfortunately, let's put point. And you will be asked how you want the return shipping. And it'll be based on, and now when you're valuing your cards, like what the actual value of your cards, what you think they are when you're inputting them in, make sure you're actually accurate about that, because if you overestimate it, they're going to charge you out the yin yang for even more. And so you're going to literally get as much of that charge as you put in for like however the value. So I made the mistake of thinking all my cards were more valuable, PSA 10, everything PSA 10 value, you know, the first time I submitted. Don't do that. Just submit at the PSA 9, PSA 8 value range, like it's going to be a normal card. And if you get a 10, they're not going to, most likely going to upcharge. So yeah, you'll probably choose basically your return shipping. And I think at the end, you'll basically decide that.
And
I
if
don't think
you
it's different
use
from large, right?
if you
Small.
use a PO box, you'll force their hand to using USPS anyways. Like I've always had a PO box on my PSA account. For a long time, I was doing middleman submissions to PSA only for like all of 2020, a lot of, well, I guess early 2021. And they would return things UPS direct to me. But as far as my PSA account, it's always been a USPS PO box, and that's the way it's always came. So I don't think there's ever any value amount where they require Fed. But that said, I've never submitted like a $500,000 card or anything. Maybe they require at certain numbers FedEx or UPS, but for the lowly 500 card submissions worth around 50K, they've always just returned them back to me, my PO box.
I wonder at what point the card has to be valued for Nat Turner to make a TikTok video with the card and deliver it on a TikTok video. I wonder if that's the thing.
Well, remember,
Ken Golden will do it. Ken Golden will do it, you know, for $50 or something. So.
Remember when Rusty graded the 10 no number tops on Charizard? He was saying like how I forget. I think he was saying how it was like an art that came to drop it off.
I don't remember.
Someone actually dropped it off.
That
like
could have been like a
that. Maybe I'm mixing that up with
attached to it or something. The transporter delivered his card to him. They got Tyson.
I feel like I remember him saying that in a YouTube video.
That's the job that I want. I want to be the Pokemon card transporter. That is that's luxury right there.
I believe he said it in a public video. I kind of hope, but I believe he said an armored truck came and picked up one of his submissions into the eBay vault. That's what I remember hearing. I don't ever remember hearing it about a PSA return.
Treatment with eBay though, it's like he's literally like in there. I love Rusty, by the way. It's saying nothing about him, but eBay loves Rusty as well. And so like I wouldn't be surprised if an armored truck went and got his stuff. But I mean, would it come to your house per se, or
not me?
Yeah,
I'm nothing.
Yeah, they're taking all my CGC 8.5, you know, Pikachu Vs. They're taking them in the armored truck.
But yeah, as long as if you have a PO box, it'll force their hand to use USPS. If they can't for whatever reason, I'm sure they'd call you and say, "Hey, look, for insurance values, whatever purposes, you've got to give us a residence." But I've never heard of it.
Mail is like the safest way to go anyway. I mean, as far as I know, like really high-end things, they always go registered mail. That's what I am most safe. That's what I feel safest using typically. So
yeah. But here's a follow-up. It's not really a question, but I figured we'd talk about it because it's a nice, relevant, current topic that's got a little spice built in. Just a note on your air quotes okayness with card polishing. The services doing this are actually filling scratches as well as buffing cards. CGC is now catching them and rejecting them as altered, which if they've had fillers and who knows what that will do to the appearance in 10 years time, then it's altering. Would you suggest... I would suggest a more hesitant stance from you guys unless you want to risk encouraging your viewers to do something that could totally destroy the value of their cards. I don't remember my exact answer to this question, but I believe it was something along the lines of, if you own binder cards that you never intend to sell, never intend to grade, do whatever you want with them. If you want to take those kindergarten scissors with a nice pattern on them and you want to make a nice special border around them, it's your cards, do what you want with them. If polishing them makes them look better, have at it. If and when you want to sell them down the line, though, know that that can have effect on the values. What I said, I believe, is that if you're doing it with intent to deceive, if you are altering a card and trying to get it through the grading company to increase the grade, to sell that onto an end consumer for more money, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. It's something I never intend to do. But if CGC is actually catching it, then it does sound as if something's being added. If something was being added, it does make sense to me logically that like a black light or something, some quick scan that they could do would pick it up. That just, like, I don't know for sure, but that feels reasonable to me. Whether or not PSA, BGS, whether or not these other companies would employ it, whether or not they'd employ it on every card, I have no idea whatsoever. That's a couple of my quick takes, but yeah, like if you're going to put anything on your cards, I'd be careful, especially, I mean, if and when you're doing it to just increase the value for resale, that's not a great thing. But I mean, I say that and then I crack out slabs to put a big number on the slab, but I'm not physically adding anything to them. It's such a fine line though, because like if and when I have a card that has some whatever on it, I'll lick my thumb and I'll wipe it off. Well, saliva is a chemical, water is a chemical. Like, I mean, I was a chemical engineer. I was a chemical engineer. One thing that constantly drives me crazy is like, oh, you're putting chemicals on it. You can't. Water's a chemical. So anyone who licks their finger, anyone who takes a Q-tip with a little bit of water, that's a chemical that you're adding. So you define it better if you don't like it. I honestly don't know fully where I fall on it. I'm more and more the whole grading thing. I'm a raw collector anyways. I'm a raw. I sell slabs. I'm not going to do any polishing to increase my slabs values, but it's a wild world out there.
So as a recap, I think what I heard from you, Dan, was if you own a card and you don't intend to grade it for resale, do whatever the hell you want with it, basically.
If you have your own property, yeah.
Know that it might lower the value in the long term, potentially, and you don't necessarily think it's a great thing if you're trying to deceive people. That's basically what I'm hearing. And yeah, I agree with that, but I would just take out one key part of that. After that, if you own a card and you don't intend to resell it or don't intend to grade it, I would take that part out, because even if you intend to grade it, or even if you intend to resell it later on down the road, maybe you don't intend to resell it when you're taking off that little piece of barbecue sauce that you got on it when you were 6 years old at, McDonald's, because your local LGS got ran out of town because Walmart came into town and they started bullying them out. And then, oh, what's going on? Pokemon's not so profitable, so you have to go play Pokemon in your local McDonald's. And oh, why is the barbecue sauce on your Hitmonchan? Well, that's because you're eating fries while you're playing your tournament at your local McDonald's there. Yeah, that happened to me. But anyway, while you're wiping off your barbecue sauce from your card there, you may not intend to ever grade that card, or you may not ever intend to sell that card. What happens 5 years from then? The newest, biggest YouTuber, Nikki Paul, Logan Paul's younger sister, she's the biggest YouTuber. She's opening up base set again. Lo and behold, your little barbecue sauce PSA for, Hitmonchan, it's suddenly worth $2 million. Dude, this thing is like $5 5 years ago. I had barbecue sauce on it. Well, okay. Wait a second. I used my finger and I licked off that barbecue sauce. That's altered. Hold on. Making that $2 million, that's something I should really think about. I'm screwing someone over if I do that, right? That's what you're going to think. So, okay. I'm trying to put the most ridiculous scenario out there you could possibly imagine to prove a point here. Because listen, if you're trying to go and fucking like clean a card and like take one card that's like a clearly damaged card and like polish it up with like aftermarket stuff and make it super shiny or whatever, and you're gonna send it in and get graded, dude, you don't think PSA is going to catch that? You don't think CGC is going to catch that after you just lacquered it up with like a literal like shiny little lacquer up there and polish it out, getting all those scratches out? You don't think that CGC is going to catch that? And I think the viewer is getting to that. Like the viewer who asked the question, CGC is catching it, you know? And you think PSA is not going to get onto that eventually? Okay. So the problem is the ones that they haven't caught, or the ones that had kind of slipped through the cracks, which understandable, very understandable. That's a bit of a problem. In which case, I don't know why people are getting so mad, because PSA has somewhat of a guarantee behind it, right? They have some sort of a guarantee behind their grades. So like if you ever get a card that you don't feel like deserves a certain grade, you're supposed to be able to send it to PSA. I know that nowadays that they don't uphold that. I know there's a whole big thing where there's this PSA 10 Nido King that looks like it's literally a PSA 1 and they've sent it to the head grader. I know all that. And so that's one situation. For the most part, I have heard of some people actually getting paid out on some things. I personally don't know how many of these things are slipping past, because if it's so damn good that literally the barbecue sauce that was on that card is just not on the card anymore, if they literally use saliva, water, if they use WD-40 shoe polish, if I can't notice it, if the person buying the card when you're looking at the card can't notice it, but then like it somehow comes down 10 years from now, I don't know, man. That seems like a lot to be really worried about on a Pokemon card. You know, that seems like a whole lot of baggage, man. That seems like you got a whole lot going on. If you're that worried about that, man, like, touch some grass, dude. Go outside. Like, I just don't have sympathy. So I personally, as far as like the card cleaning thing or card polishing, if I get a card that has dirt on it, I am going to take a little microfiber cloth and I'm going to take that dirt off, as long as doing so isn't going to rub the dirt in more. Because here's what people don't realize. Every time you fucking do that with your card, sorry, excuse my French, every time you touch your card with like something other than like, you know, in a sleeve or your hand, you're risking damaging it more. So like if you're going to go and try to play with your cards and like you said, use the scissors to like cut the corners and, you know, try to make little designs, who cares if it increases the value or decreases the value? If you're going to then go and try to fool a professional like the sport, you know, the PSA or CGC or BGS, which we all know they're not the best in the business, but they're supposed to be the professionals. I mean, hell, if it gets, I go ahead, try. You're going to get denied most likely. And if not, then that's scummy as hell. I mean, I'm not going to say that I can like go out and say that's something I think people should be doing, but I think the EV on that is probably a minus EV. I personally think that 9 times out of 10, if you were to try to like clean up and polish a card with like shoe polish or whatever it is like that people are thinking that people use, like you'll probably catch it 9 times out of 10. And the ones that don't, like, good job, you made a card that was beautiful, even more beautiful. Like, oh no, the card's even more beautiful. Oh no, it fooled a professional. Like, I'm not like seeing the point. Maybe I'm making light of a situation that really, really is getting to people. And like, I clearly have seen a lot of YouTube content that's made out of it. And I'm clearly like making light of that and not being serious in some regard. But my point is the same, is that I think it's a little bit overblown. I think that like cleaning a little bit of dirt off of a card is okay. And I think that if you're using an aftermarket sort of polish, or if you're using something like a chemical, you're risking damaging your card. And these companies are getting more savvy to it every single day. Like, no, they're not going to catch it right off the bat, but they're learning. They're not stupid. They're dummies, but not big dummies. You know, they know. And so I don't know. I just think it's one of those things that'll sort itself out. So personally, I just don't think it's worth the headache. And it's just like one of those things I wouldn't be spending so much time like it. I mean, I have nothing to gain from it personally, so I wouldn't let it bother me.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is how big of an issue is cleaning cards. I'm fairly into Pokemon and constantly on Facebook and YouTube and all that stuff, and I just I know very little about that whatever that company's called. I forget the name of it, but
there's several companies, but the
There's a
card
few of them.
is the one that's advertising in the big Facebook groups all the time. I see them constantly. They're very, very open about it, very brazen. I think that's what people don't like, is like they're just out in the open showing like before, after, and they are doing things with the hollows where they're using like some sort of a polish, and it looks like it's shining up, but dude, I can tell a mile away. They're like shiny. They shine like it's shoe polish on my fake leather, Doc, Martens or whatever. It's literally, you could see it from space. So I don't know how these things are getting by, the ones who are actually being polished, because like it's one thing to like polish, and it's another thing to like just take some dirt off of a card, to be honest, like at least in my mind. But and it's like I don't get mad at the polishing, because it's like I don't think it, and how much, like you said, how much of an issue could it really be? Apparently
yeah, that's my thing, is like how big of an issue is it, and what do the cards look like years down the line? Something where you do this and it looks like it does forever, and it just makes the card look better forever? Or is it something where after a certain amount of time it's gonna show up and you're gonna again? If it's
Like,
something where CGC can notice it, grading companies can notice it, obviously it is different than wiping dirt off a card. So then it becomes something else. I look at it with coins, which I know me and Dan can relate, but I don't know how many other people can relate. But with like coins, you can have modern silver eagles. That silver tarnishes after a while, so it starts to get like this blue-black color, and depending upon what kind of collector you might not like that. So you can dip that coin into denatured alcohol, and it'll completely remove that tarnish. It'll look brand new again. In my opinion, that is perfectly fine, because all you're doing is you're removing that tarnish. However, if you try and do that with a coin that's older and actually has wear on the surface of it, you can dip that coin, it'll look nice and shiny, but it also has wear on the surface of it, which would actually devalue the coin. The coin's going to be worth more money having that tarnish on it with that wear, as opposed to looking shiny and not having that. So it definitely is a fine line that you're walking.
well, I've altered a card before that I wanted to get a different grade than what it would have, and I'm perfectly happy to talk about it. I had an old base set first edition Pikachu, a Red Cheeks one from my childhood, and it has on the very edge, like it looks like a Sharpie mark on it. It's bent up to all hell, but it has like one little Sharpie mark on it. I literally took like a knife, and I literally like cut the Sharpie mark off, or like tore it off, like it was like torn off sort of thing, so that it wouldn't get the marked grade. I didn't want to get MK or marked. I wanted PSA 1, but I didn't want a PSA 1 that said MK. So I literally damaged the card, and I altered the card so that it wouldn't get that MK. And so, I mean, it's not the same thing, because it's clearly for personal collection, but I could resell that someday. I very well could have. And oh no, once upon a time, on the very edge of that card, it may have been a PSA 2 or 3 if I didn't take like a little tiny, corner of that card off and peel it off, so it damaged it, and now it's not marked. Am I a terrible person for that? Like, is that an ethical like issue that I should worry about? Personally, no. I'm gonna sleep fine at night knowing that about myself. And anyone out there, you're like, oh, we got him. He's canceled. We got him. He altered a PSA 1 Pikachu. He took the Sharpie off the side. Cancel. But no, I don't think there's gonna be an issue with that. So, like you said, it's very dependent upon the situation. And just to bring it back though, I do think that if people are doing this, and they know that the product is going to eventually like damage the card, or they don't even care, or maybe they're just trying to pass it on as quickly as possible, that feels scummy, that feels wrong, and that's something I feel like is being probably called out if that's being done. But I personally, I don't know how much of an issue it is. Like, if I was going to buy a PSA 10 or PSA 9 or any sort of a card that was for my personal collection, I would look at the card before I bought it, at least the front of the card. And if it didn't look like it was supposed to look or how I want it to look or something was looking off, I just wouldn't buy the card. People aren't literally like holding a gun to your head and telling you, buy this card, buy it now. I mean, this is Pokemon cards for all what we're talking about. So it's just one of those things. I think it's about being cautious. But as long as people aren't manipulating and trying to like,
Live on stream about 5 weeks ago, I did this one. I don't know what it had. It almost looked like ink of some kind, but PSA had not graded it inked. It had some kind of a residue or whatever on the corner. I scratched off the residue and I created whitening. Well, I upgraded my PSA 3 to a CGC 6.
Exactly. It's like, and is that misleading? Yes. It's like, it's not, that is not ethically to me reprehensible personally, because for me, I think it made the card look nicer because it doesn't have that ugly ass green label that it would have if it was marked. And it probably took a lower grade, or would have taken a lower grade than it would have gotten with the green label, but you're sort of trading it off for that. And so when the buyer sees it, they see the card as it is in the slab. They're not seeing the past. Like, that's the thing about when you're getting a slab. Like, sometimes the card in the slab lived a whole journey. You're not paying for the card at the very beginning of its journey. You're paying for the card at that moment in time when you get the card. Usually, if it's in the slab, you're paying for it as it is. So, like, whether it's handled, it was packed fresh, it was polished, you don't know its history. You're just buying the card as it is. So, I mean, I think that is something you have to go in knowing, right?
And say this theoretical time comes where there's just this magic solution that you wipe over your card and it turns every card into a PSA 10. If that's imperceivable by CGC or PSA or whoever, we're all in a lot of trouble. I don't think that will ever be a realistic scenario in the future, but it sounds like CGC is already catching this. Will PSA ever actually, if it requires going under a UV light, if it adds 10 seconds to the 30-second process, PSA might just choose to not do it. If it adds 10 seconds to a 30-second process, that takes their capacity from 12 million cards a year down to 9 million cards a year. That affects the bottom line heavily.
What you said, though, just like a light that picks up a residue on a card, it could be that easy. Like you said, I didn't even think about that, but that would be a very...
But if it adds 5 or 10 seconds, they will not do it. Or I mean, they'll adjust pricing to do it. I think they would lean towards not doing it at all, because I mean, we've done the math on it. The numbers have been put out there. If two graders are looking at it, they're looking at it for about 30 seconds each. If you make that 35 seconds, that is drastic. You tell, I mean, I used to work with chemical processes. If I could go to my boss's boss and say, I just made a 16% efficiency gain to the process, they see dollar signs. If you go the other way, oh, I just had to change our process and now it takes 16% longer for what we used to do in a day. Now it takes 27 hours instead of 24. They don't like that. That is not good.
Yeah, but I also think it becomes like, how big of an issue is it? Like, if this turns into a massive issue where every single card PSA is getting has this whatever, they're going to have to do something about it.
Mm-hmm. It's just one of the things, if it becomes so prevalent that they start seeing it, I guarantee they'll do something. They'll have to do something. Because if they don't, and if it so becomes that, oh, CGC catches it, but PSA doesn't, literally all of them will go to PSA. All of it. And then their reputation will be ruined. Anything after a 6 cert, you're just like, oh, that's got that card polish on it. Just assume that it does, because PSA is the only one that doesn't catch it. So they can't be left behind. They can't be like the one that doesn't catch it. So, I mean, even if it does add 5 seconds to the 7 seconds that they spend on their card, because Dan, you and I both know that they don't send 30 seconds. You try to count 30 seconds.
30 seconds is a long time to look at a card.
If you can't have 30 seconds of silence, everyone will leave. Literally, the whole audience will leave. That's how long it is. I would have had a whole lifetime by then. So they're not spending 30 seconds on a card. Otherwise, it's more like 8 to 10 seconds, I would guess, or 15 on a really cool card. 10 seconds is a long time, dude. Like, even when I was going through I put out like 300 plus cards over the last few days. Like, going through them, thankfully, I already had a lot of them sorted. I couldn't spend a lot of time on every single card. I caught a couple things that I took out, but I mean, if they're spending 15 seconds on a card, that's more than I would expect, to be frank, as many as they're pushing through.
Well, I think we covered that one well enough. That's
I don't want to offend anyone with that. Like, I may have had a bit of a spicy take on it, but I don't know.
It's a weird situation. I definitely feel like there's a bit of it being overblown, how much is actually happening. But I don't know. I've definitely seen people talk about buying this stuff, trying it out on their own. I've not. I don't intend to.
Like, there's signatures too that get wiped, and then that's altered. So like, literally any signature from an event that doesn't have a personalization on it from any event from a certain date, if it doesn't have the personalization, baby, that's an altered card. Altered being like a strong word for it, but that's technically.
And see, that's a scenario where I've not tested it myself either. I really don't care about autos. We've had that talk over the past couple episodes. To me, if someone owns a card, if they go and decide to get it signed, someone is well within their right if they don't want their name on it anymore. They can wipe it off. Now, you made a good point. Your intent today versus your intent 5-10 years down the line, if and when the price moves, it becomes weird. But like, I've heard, again, I've not done it, but I've heard that there are ways to wipe a signature off and imperceptible. No way of seeing it. I fully believe that too. Like the little
ways. Yeah, I've seen graded cards from the Arita event with no personalization on it. They got auto 10, grade 9 on the card, grade 10, auto 10. I've literally seen it, so that it's not a question of like, oh, I don't know if it's possible. No, it's possible. It's definitely possible. So.
And to me, like, I'm not buying the signatures anyways. I'm not buying PSA 10s anyways. So kind of a cop out for me is like, I'm not going to be affected by this because I'm not going to be buying the product anyways. But if I were, I guess I would be a little bit worried. I'm, and people aren't going to like hearing that either. It's not affecting me, so I don't really care that much. But yeah,
these things aren't safe investments.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, that's a development. Wow, I didn't know. What are we, 2 hours in and we just are getting to that? It's getting juicy here. He said, not an investment. There's gonna be pitchforks and red flags, and everyone in the comments like, first edition base set Zard. But I mean, it is one of those things that the community, I think, is just up in an uproar over. So it's.
And I don't think it's that broad, though. I think it's a fairly small, the way drama goes. Like, a lot of people don't even know what's going on, don't even care that much. But in certain small circles, in certain, look, they're loud voices oftentimes. So it feels as if it's a larger percentage than still, like,
exactly.
Anyone watching this, hearing this now, you're in the 99.99% of engagement with the hobby, very likely. Most people don't care about graded cards at all. Like, who
like and sub if you're here right now. Sorry, we haven't said that right now. We have to say it sometime.
If you made every person in the world that owns a Pokemon card, if you made them sit through this 2.5-hour podcast, they would leave the hobby 30 minutes in. Graded cards, 2.5-hour, 3.5-hour, 4.5-hour podcast. What is any of this? It's not worth it. I'm done forever. So
they'd be done. They're out. Good night. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking about.
My fiance loves me, and I can't even pay her to listen to one of these things. Like, so I get it. Yeah, absolutely. So
we're talking about the tiny minutia that just the average collector could not, like, less than not caring. They don't even know of its existence. They nothing these topics, these dramas, because they're not even on their radar. Complete indifference.
Speaking of being on the radar, are we ready for the Denver talk, boys? Are we getting into the? We starting to wind into? That's all the 4 questions, right? Can we?
That's all the questions.
I had a secret question for Dan.
Oh, secret
Let's see.
Kind of a good segue into Collecticon. What are your thoughts on Voodoo donuts?
Oh.
They're meh. Meh is my official response.
Why do you say that, Dan? Because I want to respond to that to you as well, even though I know this question wasn't directed at me. But I'm glad you asked that question, Nick, because this is going to offend some people, I think. But go.
It already has. I've already. My wife was offended. So my wife brought a dozen Voodoo donuts to the convention, and I had one of them. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you, clerk.
She said, "Oh, you picked a plain glazed." Like, I'm not a sweet tooth to begin with, but like plain glazed is my go-to donut because I just don't care about all the fancy trappings of like these fancy donuts. So I went plain glazed. It was on a very full stomach of beverages from the night before, so like my taste buds probably weren't all 100%, all that good stuff. But yeah, I said it was fine. It was a donut. It was meh. So many like amazing reviews though from the 10 or 11 other people who ate donuts from that box.
Listen, Voodoo Donuts is just like trying to do too much. To be 100% honest, like I'm like you, Dan. Just give me a regular glazed donut, maybe a chocolate bar if I'm feeling special, or if I'm really, really branching out, I'll get a maple bacon donut or something. Sure, if they have that kind of craziness there.
That's
sure,
what
I'll
my
go
wife
for it.
had. She had a maple bacon
And
from
so,
it.
yeah, that I can go. That's the craziest I would ever go in a donut place because I've been to a lot that have. But like, there's something to be said about those little hole in the wall donut shops. Like the dough that they use is so much lighter than those like really heavy fancy donuts that they're putting like cereal and extra like sauce and like dipping it in 5 layers of chocolate. By the time you get it and by the time it gets to your stomach, it's stale because they had to dip it in chocolate, put it on the shelf, let it harden, dip it in chocolate again, put it on the shelf for another day, let it harden. By the time it's gotten to you, it's just so like dense and heavy. It's not like a donut. Like donuts are light and they're fluffy and they're delicious and they're made that morning. Yeah, give me like a 69-cent like glazed donut any day from the donut shop down the street with like the door that's off the hinge a little bit. That's like the light on the sign is kind of flickering a little bit, but it's been there 20 years. You can have your Voodoo donut and wait in line for 20 hours for that. I'll go to the donut shop down the street. Thanks.
There we go.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed mine.
You went cookies and cream, right?
Yeah. That was really good. Definitely recommend.
I'm thankful because I had the Homer Simpson donut with my fiance. She and I split it, and so it was really good. But I will say it was really heavy. It felt like heavy compared to like a normal donut. I mean, you asked about the donuts. That's all.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to like. The donuts are good, but you asked, all right?
I just had to get Dan in trouble for
yeah, fair.
We started with Denver. We jumped right to Saturday morning. This was like the beginning of the convention. Where do we want to start? I forget when you two came in before I did.
So that was after a long night of drinking and at the convention. So like if this was a story starting off with the donuts, we got to flash backwards to Friday when we all I came in Thursday night. I technically saw Nick at like 2 in the morning, and I actually saw you, Dan, at like 2 in the morning checking in Thursday night. But it was like I was like rolling out of bed. I was wearing like my nightgown. I basically had one of those little sleepy caps on, and I was very grumpy, and so I didn't say hi. But Nick and I, we rode up in the elevator. And Nick, do you remember that ride up in the elevator? Was it so late that?
Yeah, we'll go with it was late.
Yeah, so he had just gotten back from the fine establishment. We're not gonna say where they got back from a very fine establishment with Zach, Jim Mint Pokemon, and I think Rock Pokemon was there at that point too. You said a few of you guys.
Yeah.
But I saw you going up to the room. We hung out and we went up to the rooms because I think we were on similar floors or something. And I'm surprised that you remember it all. I am, because it was not only was it late, but it took you a minute because so chat, we're friends. Like everyone, we've met multiple times. We know each other. So it wasn't because he didn't know who I was that he looked directly at me and looked as if he was looking through me. It was another reason, and I'll leave that up to your imagination. So that was Thursday night, and then Friday night, you guys, we all kind of met up like after breakfast, right? If that's what I remember, at Mile High is the
yeah. Yep.
And go check out Josh's channel because he did a quick video on that walking through Mile High.
So at the hotel, the Collecticon official hotel, Friday morning, we all kind of met up. We had breakfast downstairs, really expensive, overpriced breakfast for kind of quality food, but that's what you expect in a fancy hotel. But it was just for the people and the environment, right? We had a good time kind of planning the day. We all had some food in us, and then we went to Mile High Comics, which is one of the most historic and biggest comic book stores, I think, in the entire country. That thing was like intimidating how large it was.
That was
Like, are you guys
crazy.
comic book people at all?
I
No,
am not at all.
it was still cool to
I
see
I just
though.
wanted to go to check it out, and place was absolutely massive.
Yeah.
With all the collectibles they had in there, I mean, I was very, as a nerd, I'm usually, it's very hard to like make me feel to bully me into feeling uncomfortable in a nerd space, because like I'm the most comfortable in nerd spaces. Like I grew up in a local game shop. I literally remember watching like New Year's Eve, my friends, we hung out in like a game store and like watched the ball drop a couple of times because that's where we hung out usually. And so like I definitely am not it's not my first rodeo in nerdy places. I felt belittled in there. I felt like I was the smallest, nerdiest person in the world who knew nothing about anything. There were like comic books back to the 40s, like the 50s in there. They had like everything but Pokemon, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
had
that
little
was
Pokemon,
wild. They had a little bit.
like they had pops. They had like I could tell they had like a section that they probably just threw in there in 2020. They're like, oh, this stuff's going to the moon. Literally every person coming into the room here is asking about Pokemon. Clear out the old GI Joe case and let's put the Pokemon in there. Oh no, GI Joe's back in. Clear the Pokemon out. Clear the Pokemon. Put the GI Joe back in. But I can only imagine their inventory there. Like in my video, I was like looking through the organization and everything. It was all alphabetized with prices on every single comic book that was in the middle of the store. The part
Yeah,
that
that's
we were like kind of
true.
staying away from because we were afraid of like getting lost or maybe diving in and drowning in comics. That was all alphabetized and it was all priced, different prices with stickers on every single, like imagine the catalog of that. I can't. Like I'm thinking of like your common and bulk box that you've got there, Nick. But your comic books are like huge. At least yours are
Yeah.
little tiny squares. So like,
Oh yeah. My cards take up a lot less room than that.
Yeah, I like that we deal
Uh,
in cards because looking at their pop section, looking at how big those things are, VHSs, graded games, all these latest and greatest fads that are going on right now. Cards are nice. Cards are even graded cards are not too bulky.
they're very small. Yeah, they're less than like 5 ounces basically. The graded cards is perfect. Yeah, but so we started there. We had a good little like I don't know. We spent what 45 minutes to an hour there or something.
Yeah, we didn't spend too long there, but just enough to walk around, see everything, and
Yeah.
then I don't think either of you came with us to.
No, we both went to the convention center after that. Remember?
Oh, that's all right. Yeah. We went to the convention. I was gonna say lunch, but convention.
Yeah, you guys did lunch after. We split up. So after Mile High, none of us had really checked into the convention center or whatever. So we were driving back to the hotel in the Uber and decided on the last minute to kind of go swerve and go check out the convention center. I don't know. It wasn't really last minute, but it felt like I wasn't planning for that. But we got our vendor passes, saw the table. I think we saw Jeremy and we talked to them about like Cryptic and like some of that new TCG that he was pumping, Swolepoke, for a while there. Let's see. I'm missing something. I feel like there's something that we. Oh, there you go. There's the
That's
promo.
some promos. One for me, one for my wife.
See,
I was very relieved because we all did one. So I bought a whole section for everyone, and we had 11 people vending within that section, and what was that?
How many tables?
10 tables, 11 people vending. Just because I forget who, but
Retro split.
you and Vandy split a table.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then
Or no. It doesn't matter. I forget who originally split a table. But anyway, so we had 11 people vending, 10 tables. I bought the whole section, so I was stressing about vendor passes for CollectCon. And fortunately, we were able to get enough vendor pass. And I got an all access pass. I was better than everyone, obviously.
Did you use it or no? Did you go behind?
I did not use it.
Didn't
no.
even use it. It is hollow though. It's nice and shiny.
What is an all access pass get you? Like Vanilla Ice will breathe on you or something? Or what's the deal?
There's like a refreshment area behind the stage.
Yeah. But no, I was not even able to leave the table, so I didn't use it. But I felt special walking around with an all access pass.
So next year, I'm going to bring in Orlando a card for you to get signed for me, Nick, with your all access pass that they're for sure going to give you next year. I traded up. I participated in a trade up challenge for some young kid. He came to my table and he had a Vanilla Ice card from like Laugh Factory or some sort of a pop culture Vanilla Ice card that I'd never seen. He's like, "Hey, I'm starting to trade value, trying to trade up from this. What would you give me for this Vanilla Ice card?" And I was like, "What is it worth? Like 10 cents? Here, I'll give you a booster pack for it if you want." I give him a Celebrations booster pack. And he's like, "All right, cool." That's a great trade up. I feel like that's like, he made $7, basically a free booster pack. So the only way I'm ever going to come out on top on that is if I get Nick to sign it for me. And shout out to Pokemon Classics. Super nice guy. It was his idea to do that. And we were both so busy during the event that I never was able to like go and do it. But thank you, Pokemon Classics, for giving me that idea because it's because of him. So I'm going to have to do that in the next event. But it's the only way I'm going to not be homeless after that trade up challenge.
I have one of those cards too. I actually pulled one. Nick, do you remember in Charlotte? Nostalgic Thrill dumped. He dumped a box of like Power Rangers packs, and I forget what the set was, but it was like musicians of the 90s or something. Musicians of the 80s and 90s. Yeah.
Sick. That's so great. That's perfect for autographs. It's just like meant to get autographed. Speaking of autographs, anyone who's listening right now, this is some real information that anyone can get some added value. So here you go. You made it this long. I hope you're liked and subscribed to the channel because we're about to make you some money. Money, baby. Todd McFarlane is a Marvel artist who right now at CGC, they're running a promotion on November 11th. And this is something maybe people haven't heard about because I don't hear it talked about in the Pokemon sphere because he wasn't really a Pokemon artist. But a lot of the same people are into the same thing. So probably it will be useful for some people. With comic books, you can actually submit your comic books to CGC. And for $120, they're actually doing a special, like event special Todd McFarlane label where he'll sign the comic book if you pay the fee, and they'll put a special label on it and they'll grade it if you get it there by November 11th. And they're doing it. They've done this once before for comic books, but they just opened this event for the first time to Marvel cards in addition to comic books. And so you can't just get anything signed. It has to be an official Todd McFarlane art that like is it's something that's okay to buy at CGC to grade. But it's kind of cool that they're doing cards now. So I've got a little stack that I'm going to be sending. And any of the listeners out there, if you have any cool old comic books, Todd McFarlane did a lot of the Spawn, Spider-Man, a lot of old X-Men stuff. And so like that, I mean, that's an opportunity that there's still very much so time for that to be made into a play.
And the way that CGC does it for signatures, like if you got his signature at an event outside of their, like this event, they won't label it with the proper thing, right? Like they only certify in-person autographs.
So it's kind of cool. I think it's really cool that they're like sponsoring it. It's going to be a thing. So, I mean, if anyone like the whole hype around signatures, everything we talked about and everything, I mean, this is a very accessible way for anyone to get into until November 11th. For Marvel, mind you, but I hope they do. I hope it's successful for them because really, if that's successful for them, that opens the door for all kinds of other stuff. So like all these other artists, could very much so partner with them, and that would be nice to see.
Yeah.
So after Friday, after we kind of went to the convention,
we completely skipped over the best part of Friday.
Yeah,
after Friday.
Forget about the Swami party. Yeah, so. We can probably skip the part where we kind of afterwards, we all kind of went off and showered, did our thing. But we met back up later on at the night at the legendary Swam's place. So, Swami, if you're listening right now, thank you. It was
Yes.
so gracious of you to host the Pokemon YouTube, whom, we were kind of doing the over under what we thought was going to be there. We were trying to see like how many people were going to show up because it was like an open. The dude was crazy. He just put like an open invite out on the internet with like a bunch of people that he probably only met a couple of times with some of them, but it was a good crowd. So what time did you guys get there? Like, because you were there when I got there. I got there a little later than you.
I couldn't even tell you. I want to say it was like 4.
Oh,
it was like a half hour before you did.
I wasn't.
Okay, so
I had reservations at the steakhouse for like 4:30, I think. I want to say I got there at like 5:30. I went to like a fancy steakhouse dinner with my wife before we met up with all the DGens and had what I knew was going to be a crazy night.
Like people
maybe I got there a little bit later.
I got there about 5:30.
Yeah. Because I was there at like 6:30 or something. So and you weren't there. You were already there, Dan. You both were already there.
I was already pumping that tap on that banquet beer keg.
So anyone who isn't aware, we were all at Denver on Friday, and Swami, our friend, was throwing this big house party. I haven't been to a proper house party, since I was probably in my early 20s. So it was very interesting. There was a table in the backyard set up that I was very surprised about. That was, we'll just leave it at that. But yeah, their packs were opened. Dan let Rudy rip them off with his Rudy kit. Like, what kind of degeneracy can you remember from that night? That was the main chunk of it. Yeah, there's one of the aftermath there. I'm pretty sure like throughout the night, basically, if you can imagine, like you walk into the door, and instead of your average lame high school party where you're 20 something, you roll into a house party, you've seen all these people, you grew up with them, you're really only there to talk to 2 or 3 people. Literally imagine instead of that, it's just all of these people who you actually really want to talk to, all of these people who like you've been interacting with, but like you're friends with, but you don't really know that well. And so like you go into this place and it's like every single person there I could have sat down with and talked for hours and just been like an old friend, but it was like that times 40. So that's kind of the way the night went. And people kept showing up. I mean, it was just like a crazy night. Like I think drinks kept flowing. I'm pretty sure as the night got longer. It got yeah. It got a little colder. It was freezing. I rolled into Denver in shorts and a t-shirt, and that's what I went to the party in. That was maybe not the best idea.
Yeah, it was really cold that night.
He had some space heaters set up out back.
And yeah, it was nice until they died.
Everyone was like outside playing the game.
Did they?
Ripping packs. It was literally mayhem. Like I could only imagine the garbage can at the end of the day. Like it was beer cans and pack wrappers, probably.
Yeah, the inside dining room table by the end covered in pack wrappers.
So what kind of craziness got packed open there? Because I know, Dan, you opened a base set starter deck, you and Green Shiz, whom
me and PK
into it, apparently.
Me and PK partnered up on it. I did show it in my live stream earlier today, but this is what we pulled. Magneton hit, not the greatest, but we did get a couple starters. It's crazy to me. Like, I'm not recommending it, but these cards are still like $100 in PSA 10. We'll probably break even. We'll probably, like, PSA 9s. I think I shipped the PSA 9 Caterpie the other day for like $30. I don't know how these cards are still holding at these prices. PSA 10s are probably $50-$60 for a lot of these. But yeah, PK wanted to partner up and rip that.
Plus EV and its financial advice to go buy out all of those and liquidate everything. You're saying this is all the best financial advice, basically.
That's basically what I said, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because we're now into the territory where we're giving just the best financial advice, right? Because before that was all just like, that was jokes. We're all just opinions.
Yeah.
Just kidding. We've never given financial advice. You thought you got us there. You thought you got us. We were joking. Don't worry, I got you guys. We're not gonna get canceled quite yet.
Oh, good, good.
But yeah,
Well,
other than that, I think in the coming days and weeks, there's going to be a lot of other content coming out. I know Rock Pokemon was ripping some Japanese E-series. I know some Harry Potter was getting ripped. All different kinds of stuff.
We ripped Hagrid. Okay, the night that the actor who played Hagrid, the hypest pull of the whole night, in my opinion, was probably when that Hagrid got pulled from the base set Harry Potter pack. So I don't know how it came up, but like that day, apparently the actor who played Hagrid passed away, so rest in peace. But there was a base set Harry Potter box that was brought. I think Jake brought it.
Yeah,
And
Jake
so,
brought that.
yeah, literally the first pack, literally the only pack. Like people were like, "What is this thing, Harry Potter?" I didn't even know it was a thing. Like he's like talking about it. I happen to love Harry Potter too, the card game. So I was kind of sitting there like side eye watching or whatever. And he's like, "Anyone want to rip a pack? Like let's just do one." And people were like, "Sure." Like, what are we looking for? And we were kind of just thinking, spitting like, I don't know, Harry Potter, Hermione. Oh, Hagrid. Literally the first pack of the box. Who ripped that? Like, who was ripping it? Was it Rock or was it
It
DNA?
might have been Rock.
It was either Rock Pokemon or DNA. Someone ripped it. The first pack was Hagrid, the ghost rare Hagrid, like the coolest card you could pull.
I don't have a Hagrid to show, but this is what
Yeah.
the ghost rares look like.
Those are super, yeah. And so the card game has some really interesting looking like designs. Those things are super cool, in my opinion. And so we were started off ripping that, and then it got into E series. Like, man, that night just definitely devolved. So after that, well, you guys stayed until I don't know. I think I passed out. Probably I snuck out. I'm not one of those. Yeah, I'm not one of those who stays and like says goodbye to everyone. Like when I'm ready to go in a party, I just kind of I'm gone. Like I'm see ya. You won't know. I'm just away. So I snuck out maybe around 2 or 3. I heard you guys were still going till like 4 a.m. and you were there at the event on Saturday before I was as well. So like, geez, you guys were going hard, man.
You don't sleep on convention weekends. I'm my wife will say I always like stay till the end of the party, sometimes overstaying my welcome. So sorry, Swami and Mrs. Swami, if that was the case in this case. But yeah, I think we went till 3:30 or 4. My wife actually turned in. I think she took the same lift home, took the same lift back to the hotel because she didn't want to hang that late. But
that's right. That's right. I remember. Yeah.
Great time.
We snuck out together. Yeah.
Yeah, great time at the tables. Me and Josh, the other Josh, the green shiz. I think we had a couple L's going into it, but we cleaned up at the end of the night against Jake and PK, so it was a lot of fun.
Who knew? Who knew? 10 years later, we've been back in at the tables. Okay, so Saturday, I think Saturday is kind of the day that a lot of people, even though Friday night for us, honestly,
Friday was the most fun for sure.
Yeah, I can't say what the most fun was, but like Friday night was really special for sure. But it was all really. But so okay, Saturday, after a crazy night, like it comes around. It started for vendors. You can come in at what 8 o'clock.
Yep, you can get there at 8. VIP.
We're open at 10 for the general public.
Yeah, general public comes in at 10. VIPs coming in at 9.
Yeah, so if you ever buy a VIP pass, you do get to come in an hour early, so you don't have to like be with the throng of people who just like rushed in the door for the first time. So it is kind of nice to have that VIP access. So
yeah, it's usually always slower the first hour, just because not as many people. So
yeah, and so you guys had your table, or we had our table, at like pretty much right when you walk in. It was like not the first booth you walk into, but like if you go past the first one, it was like right there in the middle. So very good centralized location.
Yeah.
Did you guys spend any time walking around on Saturday at the convention at all? Like literally a minute walking around?
I did. I was only there for Saturday, so like the last hour of the convention, I made it a point to let the wife run the table, and I took a couple quick laps. I didn't see everybody, but I tried doing like a quick scan of everything, and I'd run into somebody, talk to them for 10 minutes, and I try to not buy too much. It's probably a decent play to go there with a bunch of cash and try to buy a bunch of stuff, raw stuff. There's probably occasional deals with graded, but it's just one I don't generally try to make. I'm trying to be there to sell and to just have some nice business meetings, some nice networking.
Business meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made that big mistake this time. Was I did what you said, and I went there with the intent to sell and not to buy. I'm actually going to I'm going to be buying much more aggressively next time, because I think that was a small missed opportunity for me. Because I'm pretty sure the guy with the FPO bat packs literally walked up to my table. It was like, "Hey, do you want to buy some like super rare cool cards? I'm gonna give you like $30,000." And I was like, "Nah, I'm cool. I don't want your $30,000. I'd rather make like $1,000 and have to grind my way out for it for like a month for it." So yeah, my biggest mistake was not buying more, because I actually turned a lot of people away at my table saying, "Oh yeah, come back and see me at the end of the event. I'm going to be buying after I sell through some of my inventory." Big mistake. Big mistake. So I won't be making that mistake again. I'll be buying on the first day, and then I'll be selling throughout the rest of the event. So if you're going to be at the Orlando Collecticon and you're watching this and you're thinking, should I go up to the old card shop before Old School Pokemon or Catch 'em All Collectibles and offer to sell them the collection? You should. Absolutely, you should.
No, don't listen to that. Don't listen to this garbage. No, the FPO packs was really so Saturday there was someone walking around the convention. Apparently he was an ex-Nintendo employee. He was moving into a smaller house, cleaning out his basement or attic, and he stumbled upon 2 legendary collection packs, and then it was like 5 FPO cards. So it wasn't a Charizard, but it was like 5 other ones, and then some Japanese packs too. So he's walking around the convention with these packs. I forget the guy's name that he comes up to, but he comes up to one of the vendors asking if they're interested in buying them, and one of the vendors, no, I feel bad because I don't know his name. He knows me fairly well.
You're talking about the guy who actually bought them, who owns them?
Yeah.
Master Set Games.
Yes. So he's close to our section. So he comes running over to our section and asks, I think you were there too, Dan, weren't you?
Yeah.
So he asks us, what's the deal with 4 or 5 card legendary collection pack? And I told him, you should buy those and open those right away.
Yeah.
So
that's advice you've ever given that guy, probably.
So he says, "Okay, thanks. That's what I thought," and runs back to his table to actually buy the packs from him. And they ended up getting both packs and the few cards and all of that for a really, really good deal. And then they actually opened the FPO pack later that night, but absolutely crazy buy.
PK went live for that. If you want to see that live on his channel,
it's on there. Yeah, it's definitely documented. Man.
Do you remember, Nick? I forget exactly what time. Fairly early in the convention, I think, but a couple times people came to me, "Hey, are you buying?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll take a look." Do you remember the binder that came to us?
Oh my
God. It was a great binder. It was a great binder, and I inquired on pricing because I had a feeling. It was base first French Charizard. It was base first English Venusaur, Blastoise. Stated as all like mint plus. I took a couple out, and I mean they were PSA 7, PSA 8 quality. The I don't know how to say it, but the French Charizard Dracafew or whatever. That one was 9-ish. That one was clean. And I'm like, he's like, make an offer. I had a feeling the way it was going to go. I had a feeling it was going to be, someone was going to be very offended when I said a realistic number. And did he start? I think his first. I'm like, you got to tell me what.
I think you said, or I think he said the first number.
He did. I got him to say the first number, but I said, you got to throw me a number. What, I mean, you're the one trying to sell it. What are you asking? $40,000 for a raw. It was mint. It was mint. Like PSA 9s probably do sell for a few grand. It was a beautiful card, very, very valuable card, but it was it was not 40,000.
40 grand?
Maybe
I don't
20,
think
20
10 would even go that high.
But regardless, whether it would or not, that was not a 10, and it was also raw, so it was not even a 9.
Yeah,
it was probably an 8 or a 9. And then like the whole binder, the binder may have been 40K, honestly. Like the binder was crazy. It was a really nice binder. A lot of good stuff in it. But that one card, not even close. And then it was like a weird interaction because I think there was some offense taken that it was a weird scenario. That scenario is way more likely than buying 2 FPO packs for the prices that those were sold. So I did have some successful trades though. I had some reasonable trades. I didn't straight buy from anyone, but I looked at some people's stuff, and after that instance, I don't think I made another offer on another item. I was always like, well, what are you looking for? What are you wanting to trade? And I did make a couple of successful trades though.
Sorry.
I picked some stuff up, but not much. So that's all I was gonna say. But
with that guy, I knew he was gonna want an absurd amount the way he was hyping those cards up.
Yeah.
Talking about, they're all pack pulled, they're all fresh, blah blah.
And again, it was a beautiful binder. There were great cards. It was a 5-figure binder if someone were to actually make a reasonable deal, but I think the thought was that it was a 7-figure binder.
Yeah,
is the problem.
Yeah, it's with those types of things when sometimes when people value their cards like a little bit more than what they should be, those people are just gonna be they'll have their cards for a while, or they end up getting really, really frustrated with it eventually, and they sell it for way less than they should, is what happens. They hold them for way, way, way longer than they should. They wait and they wait. They try to get a good deal. People give them 3 great offers. They turn them down and then take the 4th really kind of shitty offer because they're just done with it at that point. So,
yeah.
I had a good buy there. A viewer of the podcast actually came up to me early Saturday and asked if I was interested in Japanese booster boxes. He said he went to Ken Lee, and Ken Lee offered around what I was going to offer on him. He had a Japanese Team Rocket and then a Japanese Jungle. And he said Ken Lee offered, I forget exactly what he said, but Ken Lee offered that. I said I'd probably offer on that same price on them. And he goes, okay, I'll think about it and come back to you if I decide to sell them. Maybe half hours later, he came back and said, I think I'm going to hold Team Rocket, but would you do 75 on the Jungle? Where I think I said originally like 72, 74, something like that. So he said, would you do 75, which came out to $120 a pack. Said, yeah, I'll do that. So I bought that off of him, and I was quickly debating on whether or not to either message Travis with Going Twice to see if he'd want to buy it, or if I wanted to open it and sell the individual packs, because I think those could have done well at Collecticon. But then it would have taken me a lot longer to sell through those. So I ended up deciding to message Travis with Going Twice to see if he was interested in buying it. So I shot him a message on Instagram. He came to the table shortly after that and bought it for $82.50. So it was right at $750. $750 profit in like a half an hour, which super happy about that. That was it.
Hey viewer, next time Nick gave you the contact information, hit up Travis Going Twice, cut out the middleman, you get an extra $750.
Yeah, that's what these conventions are about, is those quick flips. That was what I very quickly realized, like I said, like, I don't it's so dumb, like, anything I bought on day 1, hour 1, I could just put it in the case and sell it by the end of day 2, so, like, what we doing here, baby? I don't know what I was doing, so you live and you learn, so yeah, nice flip though. That is awesome. I was gonna ask you what you're gonna do with those, and I was also gonna say 120, 125 a pack. That's about right on market. That's what they go for in auction typically. So you're not really making money on that unless you sell it to someone for the sealed premium, which perfect. You did great stuff. So
Exactly.
Going Price is gonna love it, and they have 60 guaranteed hollow packs to put in their mystery packs on their whatnot stream. So it's perfect.
Yep, exactly. And luckily, I did message him because our section made a good bit of money off of him after. So he bought the box and he walked around.
Oh, so you're the reason that Travis came to our section. You were the
You can thank me now.
He was gonna come anyways. He was gonna come anyways.
I don't think so.
I love it and I hate it because not only did Travis come over to there, I wish he came over on day 2. That's all I gotta say. So that I could have sold through a lot more of that stuff that he literally cleaned me out on like one of my cases on day 1. I had to refill my case. And so it was a good thing, but at the same time, I might wait till day 2 to sell. It's all about learning lessons, guys. It's all about learning lessons at these conventions. And for me, it was the first one vending. Like, we've been to these conventions. We went to Long Beach, but it was more to attend. I went to just enjoy the show, not necessarily to vend. I will say I'll never not vend another one of these because even though it's nice to be able to walk around, at the same time, you've seen one Long Beach, or you've seen one Collecticon, you've seen them all. So, I mean, it felt better having a place to like have a home spot, you know. I will say I might bring one of those mats, those cushy mats that you stand on. I might do that next.
Might be a smart idea.
Yeah, that's a good $20-30 spent probably.
The vending, the way that we do it too, is so nice because like you can just, hey Nick, can you watch my table for a little bit? Like we literally had 11 people in that section, like hanging out the whole time that no customer was there. You got someone next to you if you had to go take a bathroom break. Like if you're solo vending just in a section that you don't know any of your section mates, that would be a completely different experience. That would be a lot tougher. The community that we have is absolutely amazing. I think Orlando, we're already talking 2 sections, right? So
oh yeah, definitely.
Two adjacent sections, having 20 people in the vicinity. It's gonna be awesome.
If you're going to Orlando, come find us because our section's gonna be popping. Like straight up, it's gonna be pretty good section. Like it was good in Denver, but in Orlando, it's just like you said, it's getting even better and bigger. So pretty crazy. But yeah, I do think that the event itself was a big success. Like I would say that it was like, and so I heard Jake talking from Pokenomics. He said that seeing everyone, because he was next to me, so I was vending next to Jake for a lot of the event, so I got to hang out with him, which was nice. Because depending on who you're next to when you're vending, that's who you're spending the most time with, basically. Because I feel like Dan, even though we were in the same exact section, he was behind me. Dan was on the opposite side. I didn't even see any of what Dan had going on. So I'm pretty sure he probably didn't need the same situation. Like he barely even saw what was going on in our section. So like we got to interact in a really cool way, but it's a different way, definitely. But I would have it no other way, to be honest. So it's yeah, I'll be vending at pretty much every other event. And it was very gratifying to have people who, because when I went to Long Beach, I would be walking around and, you know, I don't know, people just, it's easier to get lost in a crowd. Like I had so many people come up to me and say, hey, I watch your podcast or I watch you on whatnot and say, you know, I really like what you do. And it was really gratifying, to be 100% honest. And having that spot that people can come to, it was really nice to see. So I will say thank you to everyone who came and found me. If I met you in Long Beach, it really did mean a lot to me. I may have been busy. I had people in front of me all day, so I literally didn't have a second of free time. How was your guys' tables? Did you have like even a second to breathe?
Not much. It was Saturday was insanely busy. There wasn't as many people as there was in Long Beach, but there was a lot more buyers this one than there was in Long Beach.
Yeah, that's weird. Is it because like a different crowd, or is it because in Long Beach everyone is too like crushed in, so
I
you
think
couldn't think about wanting to spend money. You just wanted to move to the next place and like get through the crowd, but you just realize you're just in a crowd no matter what.
I think it was partly because it was just too overcrowded in Long Beach, and then partly because of our location in Long Beach. We were way in the back. Josh was like flooded with an autograph line, so nobody could even see his stuff. You definitely need to plan if you're vending at one of the rare. You definitely want to be close to the entrance. That's key right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you can, being close to the entrance is a huge plus. That's like, because you get everyone walking in, you're the first thing that someone sees. Like, if someone is gonna buy or sell something, you're the first table that you have first dibs on what they want to sell.
Yeah.
While they still have money too.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when they have all their money, exactly. So
Yeah.
there's lots of benefits to being right in the beginning. You're right, but then at the same time, if you're in the beginning, there's a chance people will walk right by you because you don't want to stop at the first place. You know what I mean? Because that's how I am when I go places. I will never stop at the first place I see. Even if it's the best place, I might go back there and eventually stop, but I won't just stop right away. So
Well, one tough thing about Orlando too, I think the beginning, if I'm remembering right, the beginning is very close to the stage, and
that's true.
Very, very bad thing that they do every Collecticon over and over. I don't know why. The Vanilla Ice concert. My wife left the convention center. She left the convention center like this with her hand over her ears, and she was not the only one doing that. Like, in like the bass during that, it was crazy how loud they run it. I lost my voice this weekend, partly because I didn't sleep, partly because I consumed a bunch of adult beverages. But like, I had multiple people come to my table during that, and when you have to scream at someone 6 inches away and they still can't hear you, that's frustrating. That kills sales.
That is for sure.
Luckily,
though, he only performs Saturday,
minutes.
not Sunday.
Yeah, and it's like 30 minutes, but that was rough. Yeah. Like, that's always. I missed it in Orlando originally, but in Charlotte and Denver, I experienced that, and it's pretty rough.
It's the same thing every time. Your morning is super busy, and then once he comes on, the show just
everyone
dies
just leaves.
Out.
They're like, "What? Why is this so loud?"
They run away. They literally run away.
Oh man!
Good thing he'll never watch this podcast because man.
Sorry, Vanilla Ice, if you're watching.
Or any Vanilla Ice diehard fans out there, they're like, that's the only reason I go to Collecticon. I go to everyone to get Vanilla Ice concert tickets. That's it.
Yeah,
it's not even the music; it's the volume. It's literally just turn down the knob. I mean, the knob goes down. Like, you don't have to go all the way clockwise with it. Turn it back some.
They got 11, bro.
It is
11.
Man.
Yeah. That being said, I will say I agree with that. Like the Vanilla Ice part about it, that could be left. I could do without that. After he signs my card, buy Vanilla Ice.
Yeah.
We don't need you anymore. He needs you for one more. After Orlando, we're done.
Now, you don't like Vanilla Ice, but what about Jason Page? Because there's some people that say get rid of both of them. I personally like Jason Page.
I'm not even saying get rid.
Song.
I'm saying turn the volume down. I'm not saying get rid of him at all. Like, I don't care. But like,
I'd be perfectly fine getting rid of him.
Too soft. Get rid of him. Cut him.
There is no artist that I want at that volume. No artist whatsoever.
No, Jason Page. It's not Collecticon without Jason Page. Say what you will about him. Like it literally is not. And the volume, turn it down just a little bit. But like Vanilla Ice, bye. Goodbye. There's just some people who are iconic to the hobby at this point, and like I feel like Jason Page is one of them. And like, I mean, what else is he gonna do? Like, he's supposed to be at Collecticon. Like, there's nowhere else in the world for him to be at that moment. Like, I know he does commercials and stuff, but he can put his like Ford F-150 commercial on the shelf for a day, and I'm seeing the Pokemon theme song with all of his friends in the hobby. Because I got to meet Jason. I always get to talk to him. And one of the things that I always, when talking to him, that I always realize he's such like a positive person. He's such like he's very gratified as well. Like he's very thankful about his place in the community. So yeah, nah, it wouldn't be Collecticon without Jason.
I agree. I agree there.
The voice of a generation.
Anything?
Cards on it now, right? He made his own cards to say that. Let's go. PSA is authenticating them too, right?
I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
They are. Yeah, his I'm pretty sure his signature is one of the ones they'll authenticate and stuff. That's funny. So if Jason, if you're listening out there, what's up, buddy?
Jason's not listening. Vanilla Ice is not listening.
He's
Definitely not.
Yoga on the top of a
Definitely not.
mountain in Tibet or something like that, or he's like, meditating with a yak. I don't know what Jason's doing.
But yeah, when I actually listened this morning or yesterday morning, I listened to PK's live stream that he did. He walked around the convention for like an hour. Some of those binders that he opened, he pulled up like a random Mile card, like an EX Era Hollow that was in probably near mint condition. The guy wanted like $1 for it. There are definitely plays out there. I know some people in our section got great buys. I'm sure there'll be more videos on it, but I probably should do a little bit of the buying side. But for me, it's like I'm still in this state where I just have so much of my own personal backlog. I'm getting sufficient amount of inventory in. Maybe next year, maybe 2 years from now, I'll start going with a little bit more buying in mind. But for now, it's the cash sales. Cash infusion a few times a year, a few months apart. Really, really nice.
It was fun to travel too, so it gives you a reason to get out.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'm debating on for next year. Vending, I love vending. I want to go to one of these shows and actually walk around, because like we had a ton of people in our section, but you always feel bad leaving because then like you're not there to meet people that come to the show just for me. Sure, there's a ton of those people. But no, you're also not there to like, so like you have prices on everything, but say you're watching my table, Dan, you don't know what I would take on some stuff. People watching your table don't know what. So it's tough to leave for any prolonged amount of time. So I do definitely want to go to a Collecticon and actually just go there to walk around, because it has been a long time since I've done that.
You never will though.
It was actually the only time I've ever gone to walk around very Collecticon. And that was a lot than the ones they're having now. So one of these times I'm definitely going to go to just walk around. I don't know which time that'll be.
You're Mr. 4 table. I'm going to bring ultra modern packs to make 25 cents a pack. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. You're always going to have your 18 cases set up filled with the finest inventory around.
Oh, by the way, if you we haven't even said that we got to hang out with Mason. We haven't even talked about it at all. Speaking of finest inventory, did anyone get a chance to see all of like Mason's junk slabs he brought? I thought I was the only one who brought junk slabs. Mason was like the junk slab king. He literally had a crown made out of like baby shinies at the end of it, I'm pretty sure.
He left the show with none of he had like 10 cards left at the end of the show.
Mason did well, I think. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And yeah, I'd love to see it, because that was my first time actually getting to hang out and see Mason in person too, because we interact all the time. But it was just funny seeing him pushing his baby shiny slabs, or his V's and full arts and whatever the hell is. But who am I to talk? I was selling mystery bags and 7.5 full art
gold mystery bags.
Gold. They were gold. I even had a spin wheel set up, but it didn't quite make the table because there wasn't space, and I didn't have to. There was like parts that were missing and stuff. So I was trying to go full degen whatnot, making everyone uncomfortable.
Do some duck races and.
Yeah.
There we go.
Reasonable, selling slabs for their asking price, looking at last comps, and I was over there yelling, mystery packs, get your mystery packs, come on down folks, get your bot and booster packs. Here we are. So. different styles, different strokes, but I only know how to do one thing, guys. I literally only know how to do one thing. I'm a one-trick pony, so
Yeah.
I'm finally learning how to grade. So like it took a long time, but I'm learning. I'm learning how to grade.
There
So
we go.
Was there any changes to your inventory you'll make for Orlando? Was there anything that sold exceptionally well that you'll bring more of, or anything that didn't perform that you won't bring?
absolutely. Like for me, this was a huge learning experience. And like the thing that I sold out of within 2 hours that I realized was going to be popular, but I didn't realize how popular, my PSA ones. Literally, PSA ones moved faster and like in such a it was the only thing people cared about. Like when they were in the cage or in the they were looking at the slabs or whatever, their eyes would go by some of the mint ones, the nice stuff, whatever, the higher end things. They'd always point at the most expensive thing in the cage or whatever in the case. But then they would be like, oh, look at this, a PSA one. Look, and they always it starts like, look, I didn't know that was a thing. Like, why would I? And then they see like, huh, that's not too bad. Like I had like, 75 to $100 as like a meme. I would price them at like $69 for like a PSA one, like Southern Islands Mew, because it's like the meme price for a meme card, you know? And so like you price them to move, they're damaged cards that get a new life. And I literally bought, I think, a little under 20. I had like 17 or something of different species and different things. Cause like I'm a PSA one collector myself, so I know there's a market for it, and I know there's some people who like them. And I was very surprised pleasantly with how quickly they move. So I'll be bringing a lot more next time, and just more like low inventory stuff that was like between 20 and 50 and 20 and $75 or under $100, man. That just moves like because it's just people
Yep.
walking by, they see it like, oh, I like that. I like the species. I like the Pokemon. Those will be good for you, Dan.
I mean, look
I
at this
guarantee.
fine specimen. It's
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
poor. It's only poor condition. I mean, poor is not that bad.
Oh, it could be worse. Yeah, it could be a 0.5,
It's not.
it could be a worse grade.
It's not called like obliterated. It's not called completely
Overrated?
decimated.
I
Poor.
promise you, you won't leave the event. If you go to an event with those ones, you will not leave the event with those, especially because they're CGCs. Oh, did the washing machine Charizard go up?
It's
It's
going
an
up at
option.
No,
early
not till December.
December. Yeah.
Okay. They were showing it off. So
Mhm.
Heritage was doing a bunch of stuff. They always have really high end items to show off at the Collecticons in their booth, and this time they had the washing machine Delta species Charizard. What do you guys think on that? What's your take on the washing machine Charizard?
Quickly,
With
just
I
speaking on that, Ivy owns that Queen Metazoo. We did get to watch Queen Metazoo destroy Basic Trainer Friday night in a game of Metazoo. I've heard no
uh,
one plays. I've heard no one collects. We watched a game happen. Basic stands up triumphantly, counting down her life points, thinking he's going to close out the game on what he thinks is the last turn of the game. There's a reel out there. Go check out Queen Metazoo on Instagram. Very dejected look, hand in his palms as she's finishing him with her 5 life points remaining. So I just had to shout that out because I forgot to mention that from Friday. That's like a really standout moment.
Tears were shed.
Tears
Yes.
were shed.
Tears
It
were
was
shed.
hilarious. But yeah, as far as the Charizard goes, for anyone who doesn't know, IVR on TikTok or Instagram or wherever, that reel or that TikTok got what, like 10, 15 million views?
Something
Absolutely
absurd like that.
crazy. She
You
had it in a pocket, washed it in the washing machine. It's kind of like one of these cards, only it was I mean, I don't know the story behind these cards, honestly. One of them might have went through a washing machine. I picked these up in a collection a long, long time ago, and I don't throw things away. So I figured I'd just get them graded for the jokes. But I didn't make like a TikTok. I didn't go viral over them. So, but it's cool what she's doing. She got them signed by a bunch of people. She's auctioning it off completely for charity. I'm sure someone will bid a decent bit of money on it. Obviously, well over what it's worth in itself, just for a charitable cause.
Oh yeah.
She was asking everyone at the event what they thought. Like her and the Heritage guys were asking like what we thought it might go to. And so, do you guys want to take a whack at it? I have a number that I thought, and I still stand by that number. So, you guys want to maybe take a little crack at what we think that number might be when it auctions off?
I said 10,000.
I would guess 5K, but again, it's a bit of a silly exercise.
Don't be backpedaling here, saying it could go between $1 and $1 million.
It's whatever two people decide. Whatever two people decide they want to donate for that given day, right?
So I feel bad because if you said 10K when they were walking around and you said 5K, I was having trouble getting it above 2K. I said it would go to like 2,500 and I thought I was being nice. And I said, oh, but in this market, it might go a little lower. It depends on maybe if there's a charitable enough person in there. And like, I feel bad. I hope I didn't insult them by saying such a low number. But I mean, to be fair, it's a $100 card probably on a good day. So if it goes over $100, I'll be pretty happy for it.
But it's got all those signatures on it. The signature market, man.
Clearly, you don't watch my podcast, Nick, because you know how little I care about signatures and how literally, oh man, yep. That being said, I do hope it goes for like 5-10 grand because it's going to a good cause and it's a meme card. And I've honestly always been wrong on that sort of stuff. Like whenever something like that is happening, like logic doesn't come into play. Like, what are we doing trying to logic it out? That's not a logic. You don't buy that card out of logic. You buy it out of like, the goodness of your heart sort of thing.
Yeah.
Or someone who just has a stupid amount of money. Doesn't have anything else to spend it on.
Do it for the memes. Yeah.
One thing though, getting back to what to bring, what not to bring. Like you were saying, Dan, I did miss not only having one table. Definitely felt a little claustrophobic. But it was nice being able to travel lighter. But singles, Swami absolutely killed it with single cards in Denver, which I was absolutely blown away by, because in Charlotte I had 2 whole cases full of good or decently priced WotC singles, first edition, unlimited, and I might have sold 2 or 3 cards out of those 2 cases the entire weekend. So I was shocked how well he did with his single. Well, so that's definitely something that I want to get back in or try again at least.
You need to be careful though. Like I see some people making some very broad generalizations. X did amazing this convention, so it will always do amazing. That is not at all the case. Like what kills it at one convention could just be a complete flop the next. I think one thing that I've consistently done well with, which maybe I'm biased because it's what I'm always going to be bringing, the experience of gambling on a pack. I'm always going to try to have the cheapest, heaviest packs in the building, because what were we talking about Friday night? People were ripping stuff, spending. I mean, I bring like the WotC stuff. At some point, I want to get down into like lower price ranges too, 10, 15, 20 bucks for someone just wanting a cheap scratch off experience, playing that lottery.
You were giving me shit for bringing Sword and Shield packs. Those are
I'm talking 10,
like $5,
10, 15 bucks. I'm not talking $5. I'm not gonna bring a pack, fly 2,000 miles with it, pay $100 for my Frontier bag, and then make 10 cents, 50 cents on a pack.
You mail it to yourself, Dan. Yeah. It takes $20 to mail it across the country. It's not that.
Thank you, Josh.
And in Florida, we do have a lot of friends down there now that we could ship to. But yeah, I think people, there's gonna be people that are gonna have a bad time probably because like, oh well, I had 20 slabs, I had 50 slabs, these 10 sold, these ones didn't. They're gonna bring like only that, and then it's just like not gonna be the right. Because even though a lot of the same crew on the seller side, a lot of the same crew goes to these conventions. They do get some amount of a local turnout. People that don't fly, they only go to the one that they can drive to. But I mean, we're like, we fly around, we go to a lot of them, not all of them. But as far as like the walk-ins, and a lot of people go for only one day, and a lot of buyers are just like the local, whoever's within 2 hours, whoever the advertising worked on, got them in the door. Those FPO packs that walked in, that was not going to show up in Orlando. That was just people were in the area. That's a common thing. Every time I had someone, I was only set up to sell on Saturday. every time I had someone and I remembered to, I asked them like, hey, are you coming in tomorrow? Or I told them I'm not going to be there tomorrow. Oh, I'm not either. Like, I'm here just for today. That's a pretty common thing. So
Yeah.
even like having for the same convention for Orlando, you could sell out of one thing on a Saturday and you could completely sell all different things on Sunday. Like, it's very hit or miss. I think a consistent theme with our section too, a lot of us made like big bulk sales to certain individuals. And yeah, like if and when a couple key people weren't there, a lot of us would have had very different days.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I made 70 of these mystery bags, right? And I brought 4 home. So
Oh.
like they
Man.
really the lower, they're $25. So that lower tier price point was a really like easy thing to move. And like the experiential driven, like ripping, just having something there to do while you're with your friends and enjoying the hobby, that seemed to do quite well for exact reasons for what you said, I think. Because that's like why people are around. For sure. That being said, I will probably be bringing some singles, and I want to touch a little bit on Swami because I was right next to him. I actually got to see the man work his magic. The magic of Swami's singles were in his organization and how he had them priced. He had brought everything already in top loaders, in card savers. I'm sorry, not top loaders, and so they were really nice. They looked like they were ready to grade. They were on penny sleeves, card savers, and they had not written in Sharpie, but little tiny stickers with the price, and they were priced in stacks, like according to their price, like 5, 10, 15, 20. And it was just easy for people to pick up the stack, shuffle through, grab the card they wanted, put it on a stack, and it has a little number there. Add up the number, and then that's how much it costs. It wasn't like the cards were unlabeled, they didn't have prices, so people were like looking through and had to set it aside. They could easily in their head come up with what the price was and kind of make easy round numbers. So he was just printing, just handing, exchanging money like quickly. He wasn't having to like babysit and ask. People weren't asking like, how much is this? Hey, how much is this? They would maybe say, hey, if I got all this, would you knock a couple dollars off? And he'd say, yeah, sure, I'll knock a couple bucks off. So it was about the ease of the transaction. And that's sort of what I've always learned in these types of situations is it's about making the transaction really easy and seamless for the customer, because that means they'll want to like, it'll make it that much easier to just kind of do what you're doing. So I would say
Yep.
that if you're going to bring singles, how you display the singles and how you price them and how it's on your table. Like he didn't have like in his case, like every single card, they were literally a stack like this, like a stack. And it had like, labels of 10, and those are all $10 cards or something. So someone just grab the stack, take one out, you can see it, and it's already ready to go. So
Yeah. Yep.
ease of use, I thought. So that would be a caveat I would add to like someone who's like, oh, I want to sell singles. Like if you're gonna do it, I would do it like Swami did, and I would like put them all in the card savers, all in penny sleeves, have them pre-priced or price them on little stickers, and good to go.
I think he priced them well. I think he priced them like under comps, cash deal, left like meat on the bone, left some margin in them if people wanted to buy them. That's key too. Like there's probably some scenarios where you can just overprice things and they sell. A lot of vendors do just overprice everything, and it must work like for some people because they do it all the time. They do it at everything. But yeah, like I always, when I travel, when I go to a convention, I don't want to go home with anything. I always price everything to move like really, really well. Cash is king. On the buying side, cash is king. Especially Orlando last year, there was not great service. There were deals that were not being done because people couldn't get into their PayPal. People asking to swipe a credit card. I might get like a credit card swiper. Just it's nice. Like Nick took a couple payments for me because they were doing Venmo. At the end of the day, everyone can accept cash. Bring cash if you're a buyer serious about getting the best deal. If you offer me, especially PayPal goods and services or whatever, if you offer me PayPal friends and family, that's not as effective. If I've got a thing marked for $500 and you say 400 PayPal friends and family, I'm less likely to take it than if you say 4 $100 bills on the table right now. Cash is effective. At least it works on me more. I don't know. Maybe that's just me,
I
but
love seeing the stack of cash.
cash is
It
king.
definitely works on me.
If you're serious about buying, cash.
Because of credit cards at the convention, I remember 2 distinctive sales that I lost. But it was like not that much that I felt like I need to have a credit card swiper. You know what I mean? It feels like that would be doing too much. So I'm still not going to bring a credit card swiper. I have one. I have Square. I just doesn't seem like it's really. I'd rather just take cash at these events, to be 100% frank. So
Yeah,
or
definitely.
PayPal if need be, or Venmo, because like my breakdown was, I'd say about 75% to 85% of everything I got was cash. Like I got a couple PayPal, a couple Venmos, but for the most part, it was all cash. So
Yep.
so Orlando is not going to have internet. That's what the convention center. That's the difference between, because Long Beach and Denver, both the internet was sparkling. It was fantastic.
The internet was slow for me in Denver. Orlando was rough.
I didn't have a problem with my phone. I don't remember anyway. But
it's
there were
always
a
by
lot
the
of people who
provider.
did have issues.
I was able. I did like a crypto transaction, so I was able to get it done. I did some PayPal, but it was slow. Denver was a little slow. Orlando was really slow. Some people, like all together, they had no internet, no nothing. It all depended on your provider, I think.
So what's the play with Orlando? Is it to get the internet so you can get comps and have the advantage for the extra $150? And is it shareable, or is it like only one per phone?
If you're selling, like price everything. That's one thing too. Like so many booths don't have everything priced. Like I'm way less likely to buy something if it's not priced. So if you're a seller, price everything. Know what you're going to price it at. Price it reasonable. Price it to sell. Know what you'll come down. If and when someone's going to spend $5,000 at my table, will I come down 10% on everything? Will I come down 20% on everything? Be ready, because those buyers are there. Going twice is clouds. They will swoop through. They will. I want everything at 60%, 65%. Know what your number is. From the buyer side, it's tougher. Like it's easy to say, be educated on every price of everything. Something niche might come up. You might have to comp it on your phone. I'm not going to do too much buying, so like it's not something I concern myself too much with. A lot of things are fairly obvious. If they're like really underpriced and you want to just get them, just get them. But I don't think I'll ever buy the internet personally.
What about you, Nick?
I don't think I'll buy it either. And you can buy it right there. Like all it is you go into your settings, click on the Wi-Fi, and it'll pop up with that screen saying you can pay whatever. But I guess you have to have phone service too. Or no, you probably don't actually. No.
Maybe the play.
But yeah, I probably won't ever do that either.
Here's the play. So you're the guy in the section with the Wi-Fi. You buy it for $150 and then you sell comps for $10. So you sell 50 comps throughout the weekend. You just made $350. Boom, free table, free table, free cases. You're welcome.
There we go.
Wheels are turning, Dan. The wheels are turning.
Always got to be hustling, right?
Squeeze out some optimization here.
Yeah. Always got to be hustling.
That's what I love about you, Dan. Always find a way to squeeze that last penny out of the hobby there. We grading pops, boys? What are we doing? We grading pops?
We're grading sitting cuties. We're trying to talk them into that.
Okay, well, okay. We need Beanie Babies. We're gonna need PSA to do Beanie Babies. That lady in her basement who's grading Beanie Babies isn't quite good enough. They're not stonking enough.
She doesn't have the capacity. We need some market acceptance. We need like 500K of them a year.
At least. If we can print at least 1 million more of those beanies a year, we got like 9 billion cards. We're at least a ninth of the way on to the moon at that point, right?
Yeah.
So after Saturday, you ducked out, right? So you were just
we're still at the convention Saturday
before the hotel.
We went to dinner. We went to you and I went to the brewery. We were gonna go to
Cheesecake Factory.
I was not like when I go out of town anywhere, when I travel, I do not want to go to a chain that I can go to at home. I have a Cheesecake Factory like 45 minutes from me. I don't even like to go to it here. I definitely don't want to go to it in Denver. So we were walking there and
Cheesecake Factory, what?
I hope Jake's wife wasn't like mad at me, but like we were walking to Cheesecake Factory. I had some beverages. Nick and I pre-gamed a little bit. I had a little bit of a buzz going maybe, and I'm like, the whole time I'm walking, I'm like, I don't want to go there. I just want to go to one of these million places that we're walking past.
Your feet.
I see a brewery. I'm like, boom, IPAs, good like bar food, good brewery food. The food was fantastic. It was a little slow, but yeah,
it took forever.
I mean, we got to chat.
The drinks were good too.
We got to chat. So my beer was fantastic. I forget what it was called, but really good IPA they had. We went with Jake, his girlfriend, me, my wife, Zakeel, Rainy Day Collectibles was there, Mason, Nick. It was a good little smaller setup. We were there a while, but that let us have a couple drinks and hang out, and that was a good time. Really good food, actually.
Yeah.
What did you do for dinner Saturday night?
We disappeared on Saturday. We had ramen after the event at the hotel. We just ordered ramen because so after the event, I was dead. Maybe I'm more of an old man than you guys are because I was like literally so sore and so tired that I had every intention of coming out and meeting up with you guys after like we went to the hotel and changed and did that stuff. But literally the minute I took my shoes off in the hotel room and sat down, lights out. Like I was not going to come back out. So we had ramen, and I was probably asleep by 10:30 that night, to be 100% frank. And so I was there early on Sunday morning. I was actually there bright and early, whereas Saturday I was a lot later to the rise. So there was a little bit of a mishap on Saturday too, like the Uber driver situation. But yeah, it was definitely a Saturday night was one of the things that I don't want to say I regret, but like I passed out really early and I saw like the FPO packs got open that night and I did miss that in person. And like, that's something that I'll be beating myself up about just a little bit probably for some time. But you know, you go to enough of these collecticons, you get enough of these places, like you're going to see some things like that get opened up, like some crazy things. Last time in Long Beach, I saw the Gold Star Mewtwo get pulled right behind me from John.
Oh, by Radar, yeah.
Yeah, by Radar. So, like, I mean, you see some crazy shit happen. That's probably the one and only Gold Star besides a Metagross I saw one time on Whatnot get pulled. Literally in my life, the only time I've ever seen a Gold Star get pulled. I've opened a lot of those packs too. So, but yeah, I'd say you're just bound to see some crazy stuff no matter what. So, like, I guess I'm trying not to feel too much of the FOMO. And I'd say anyone else out there, there's always more, you know, there's always more.
And that's the thing. Like, you probably won't see FPO packs get cracked again. But last year, Nick and I went to Vegas like a year ago now. We took part in a base first, base shadowless, base unlimited box break. When's the next time you're going to see the three of those cracked? Then a few months later in Orlando, we went to the Collecticon, where a beta magic box, a base set first edition, and then they did Yu-Gi-Oh! And MetaZoo boxes. Like every event usually has like a centerpiece thing. There's usually, as you said, there's something crazy's being ripped. So if you miss that, don't beat yourself up over it. I was actually there sitting at a table having drinks, talking with people. I didn't even get up to walk over to the table. I knew what was going on, and it's like FPO cards. Yeah, I mean, Rusty had 1 million of them. Trading Card World opened 1 million of them. They're cool, but like I'm not. I forget, Nick. Did you stay sitting down hanging out, or did you walk over for that?
Well, by the time we looked over at the table, there was already like 1,000. So even if you did want to go over, you would be able to see a thing.
See, I'm really tall.
I just stayed with you and Zach.
I could have seen, but yeah, I didn't want to. I mean, we were hanging out, we were talking. I'm really tall. I probably could have seen it, but like I'll watch this tomorrow on Instagram, and I did.
Yeah.
I watched it that night, like after it happened, right as PK loaded it. I was like, oh, that's what they're doing right now. But I was like laying there, like half asleep, like, yeah. But I mean, Collecticon, that's what it's about. Like, I personally always try to bring packs to rip for myself. Like this time, I brought some Generations packs just to rip for fun. And I brought some Sandstorm packs and ripped that, and that was fun. So I've done Sandstorm at every Collecticon, so I'll probably continue doing Sandstorm.
Gotta keep that tradition going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, adds another layer. Like I'm building a good collection now. Like 20 years from now, I don't envision myself owning a complete master set of every card in PSA 9 and PSA 10, whatever. But having that PSA 8 Shadowless Charizard that I pulled myself. And I'm going to go broke if I continually buy into box breaks like that. But I have, I mean, from 2020, I have that. And then from 2021, or no, 2022, so 2021 and 2022, I have the beta Vesuv and Doppelganger. Next year, I mean, I'll try to make it a point to like once per year rip some kind of semi-crazy pack and add some new, like I pulled it myself, add that to my collection. Always cool to like tie something specific to the event, to those memories you had.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and being just able to be around all of the people in the hobby that we interact with on like a daily, weekly basis is actually just really nice too. So that's kind of the nice thing about those collecticons. They space them out well enough that like,
Well, they used to space them out well enough.
well,
Yeah.
what, every 2 to 3 months? I guess 2 of them are like right next to each other. The 2 in Texas, right? They're like really.
They're doing like 4 in a row next year. It's like August, September, October, and November.
Like 3 weeks apart. Some of them, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to try to make, I think, 4 of them. After talking to you, Nick, 4 is a good amount. Like every 3 months or so, it's kind of a good number.
Yep.
Like traveling more than every 3 months feels like a bit of a bag.
Yeah. They're a lot of fun, but they are very tiring.
Quarterly is a good interval. This year I did, going back to last year, going back to about a year ago, I did Pokemon Saves the World in October. 4 months later, I did Orlando in February. 4 months later, I did Charlotte in June. And then we just did Denver in October. Every 4 months for me is like a really good interval. Maybe 3 months. But some of these, like this year we had, what did we have? Back to back, right? They did 2 of them literally back to back weekends. And
it was Dallas and Charlotte.
A lot of people like went to both, and some people linked up like a 3rd weekend in a row, 4th week. I can't do that. Like I'm every couple months, maybe 2 months between a couple of them, but ideally 3 to 4 months between them. That's like the sweet spot. So tentatively looking at the schedule, I think I'm eyeing February Orlando, May Dallas, and then I think it's September Charlotte.
Yeah. Yep.
That's my initial feel looking at it. We'll see though from there. Kansas City, I think, lands in June this year. Kansas, I'm sure the people who went probably had a blast. I'm sure if a handful of people that I knew went, I'd have a blast. But that one didn't seem to be as well attended from people that I knew personally. I did hear from some of the people who like ran the event. I heard Kansas City was actually pretty solid, I think. Unless I heard, I thought I heard that from one of those guys that runs it. But yeah, I'm sure they're all a blast.
They didn't even know Denver was going to be the craziest one. Like when those guys, when we were talking to them, they're like, "Oh yeah, Denver, right?" And we're like, "Oh, Denver is going to be the one." They're like, "Wait, what?" They were like surprised that we were like the most excited about Denver. Like, well, what about Long Beach? It's like, no, Denver's the one. So for me, what I was considering next year, I was looking at Orlando. Orlando's a for sure. Probably looking at Dallas, looking at Long Beach again, and then Denver, right? Because isn't Long Beach sort of the same time, like in the summertime? Sounds kind of nice. I'm in California. Yeah. I'm gonna have to do Long Beach no matter what. I'm in California, so.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice for you, for sure. Not super far away.
It's a long drive. It's about a 9-hour drive. So it is like a really long drive because it's down the coast. We're in Northern California and it's in Southern California. So it's still kind of one of those things. It's kind of like, it's not close enough that it's really close, but it's not so far away that it feels far. So it's only like an 1.5-hour flight. And now that I've been flying more, I guess I can't really use my fear of flying as an excuse to not go anymore.
That is true. Yeah, I think I'm probably with Dan. Orlando, Dallas, and then probably Charlotte. We'll see on that one. I wish Charlotte was. I wish they switched Charlotte and Long Beach the date, because I wanted to go to Charlotte. But the dates make it so if I go to Charlotte, then I can only go to 3 of them. But like if Charlotte was in August and then Denver was in October, that'd be ideal for me. Collecticon should change the schedule to accommodate me.
So here's the dates for anyone curious. I figured I should just pull that up. These aren't like publicly posted on Collecticon socials, but I think this is a page out of like one of the Heritage advertisements or something. So
I'm pretty sure they're not locked in stone, but I'm pretty sure they're like set in because we knew about these before they announced it. Like Gary and Jason were kind of talking about it, how they had locked them in for their dates right before on Sunday night. So I'm pretty sure that's going to be available, like with those dates. Yeah, and looking at that, yeah, I'm looking at like Orlando, I'm looking at Dallas, I'm looking at Long Beach and Denver.
Yep. Yeah, maybe it'll be Houston for me as the last one. That might be doable. Orlando, Dallas, Charlotte, and then Houston.
Yeah,
it's interesting because they all have such different vibes too. I feel like it's just such a different, like Dan was saying, one experience at one will be totally different than another. Because like I didn't vent at Long Beach, but it did have a totally different vibe. It felt like there wasn't as much buying.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely for sure.
Yeah, I'll have to see, but Orlando for sure.
This Sunday that Dan missed, are we gonna talk a little bit about the Sunday? Because I feel like Sunday at the event, it was a very different event than it was Saturday, right? Because Dan, you saw the craziness that was Saturday. I actually did a totally different style. Like I shifted. I got sold out a lot of my high end stuff and a lot of my things that were moving, and so I sold a lot of booster packs on Sunday, and it was a significantly slower day. Not just in sales volume, but like people too. Like I just feel like it was a slower pace in general, which is to be expected, I would say.
That's usually how it is, yeah, for sure. Sunday is very until you get to like lunchtime. That's when it starts to pick up, but even then, it's still a lot slower than Saturday. I only did like a couple $100 from. I got there at like 9, started setting up then because we didn't get back to the hotel till late. I was
gonna say, like, I'm gonna have some people mad at me. Continue on with Sunday, but like our Saturday night continued after the hotel trade night for a little bit too.
Yeah, what did you guys do? Because like I have
we can talk about that before we move on to Sunday.
Yeah. So
what
the bar closed at the trade night. I don't know what time it was, but I remember hearing that it closed. So I'm like, okay, everyone I'm sitting with, who wants drinks? Who wants 2 drinks? Because I'm getting 2 drinks. So I went up there. I spent like $150, I think, getting a drink or 2 drinks for a lot of different people, and we hung out for a little while longer after they closed. And then we went on to Spicy Manor. Shout out the whole gang.
The Spicy Mansion. The Spicy Manor.
Several friends had an Airbnb set up, which was really cool. We just went there, we continued to party. I mean, we had some more beverages there. Coulson decided to lose money ripping a box of something Japanese. I don't know Japanese sets, but he lost a couple $100 ripping something Japanese he shouldn't have. But yeah, it was a good time. Nothing like crazy or too notable from that night, but just another couple hours. I don't remember I don't pay attention to clocks. I don't take out my phone for photos or videos. I'm just in the moment, and got to bed at like 4 that night, maybe 4:30.
It was not much sleep, I can tell you that.
Not much sleep, but yeah, it was a good time. Worthwhile. I mean, you can sleep. We were just talking about, we go to 3 or 4 conventions a year. You can sleep the other 350 days, 355 days.
Yeah, exactly. It's well worth the lack of sleep for sure.
Yeah, I will say the one thing that I heard the most on Saturday, because I was right next to it, was how much is that Evolving Skies box? How much is that Evolving Skies box? How much is that Evolving Skies box? Literally, that is the most asked about item that was anywhere near mine. Or Jake and I had some crazy weird stuff. Like everything you could imagine at our table. Like the first ever Superman card was at the table. The first ever like 1940 Superman card. The weirdest Pokemon shit you've ever seen, like Gold Magi Lugia, was just literally on the edge of the table. You could have walked up and just grabbed it at any point. I'm glad nobody did. I was watching that thing like a hawk, but it was on the edge of the table. And what do people ask about? They ask about the damn Evolving Skies booster box. They just want to hear him say it. They just wanted to hear him say what they say how much. And then finally, at the end of the damn day, literally, it was like, oh, after 420.69 people had asked about it, literally the last person of the day said, all right, cool, I'll take it. And just walked away with it. And just like that, we never heard from the Evolving Skies again. We never heard from it on Sunday. It was maybe that's why I got so quiet in the event. That one box sold, and then everyone left. They're like, "Oh, Evolving Skies booster box is gone. The one that was on the edge of the table. Let's go, guys. That's it." Because apparently, that's all anyone wants to hear is Evolving Skies and Charizard UPCs. Mine.
Oh.
So yeah, Dan, I would say after you left, Sunday was a lot cooler, a lot chiller, but it wasn't as much like craziness. Like after the event, I mean, we could probably skip through the Sunday event. Not that it wasn't fun and everything, but just a lot more of a chill. We had lunch, we did the thing, but after that, like I feel like I saw you again back at the hotel, right? Old school. What did you do between the event and the hotel? You must have just had dinner or something.
Yeah, we went to grab dinner at some pizza place with a whole bunch. You were like the only one from our section who come out for dinner.
I went with
you and Ray.
So I went with the Spicy Mansion. Apparently the Spicy Mansion went and they had a nice dinner or something, and we literally found ourselves like wandering into some nice restaurant where it was very funny because we were a bunch of nerds clearly who walked into a restaurant where we were not in place. It didn't feel like we were in place, but I'm pretty sure that if I was correct, like just looking around, like most of the people at the table probably had more money in their pocket than most of the people in the restaurant at that moment in time, just because of what had just happened with the event. And so it was a very surreal, funny experience where we were probably the lowest bar people in this really high class restaurant. And we probably made the people around us a little bit uncomfortable because, like, I was wearing my Magikarp hat, I think, and like, and it wasn't the classiest thing. We had some drinks, but we had a nice dinner. We went out to a nice, fancy dinner after the event because after we all just made a bunch of money. Retrospects, shout out to Retro, my co-host on Cardboard Hands. He loves it when people lose money, and so he's always looking out for giving bad financial advice to you guys. So if you want some good or bad financial advice, go check out Retrospects. There you go. A little plug for my my co-host. He was like, "Let's go have a fancy dinner." So I'm gonna blame that on him. But no, it was really good. And so after that, we met up with you guys. I know you guys you did the more frugal and probably the right thing and had pizza.
Mm-hmm.
I had like lobster ravioli or something.
Ooh,
so
that sounds pretty good though.
It was one of those situations. But so then flash forward, we go back to the hotel. There's like a little trade night going on at the actual hotel where everyone was staying. So not like the one that you guys went to the night before where it was at a different hotel. This was sort of an unofficial trade night that was kind of going on. I wouldn't call it a trade night though, right? Would you just say it's more of like just people?
I would say it was a hangout.
Yeah, because like people were just kind of hanging out down below. It was the funniest thing in the whole world to see though, because just from like the outside looking in, it was a Sunday night. It was just a random Sunday night in Denver, in the middle of downtown Denver, and this hotel lobby was cracking. It was so cracking that all the seats were taken. People were sitting on the ground. They were cross-legged on the ground, opening packs.
Mm-hmm.
And I could just imagine the hotel, like the person, the manager or whatever on duty, literally looking out from their little window up above, just like looking at these people sitting on the ground, crisscross applesauce, ripping booster packs in their like fine establishment with the mahogany, fireplace and their Christian Dior and their fancy, Jimmy Choo shoes on. They're just seeing all of these nerds in their Magikarp hats and their Pokemon hats sitting on the ground thinking our normal patrons would never. They would never. When will this weekend end? So I was enjoying watching that just from the outside looking in, just the uncomfortableness that it must have provided to their normal patrons. It was funny. I thought it was very funny, at least.
Oh yeah.
Lots of degeneracy went down that night, though. Everyone was like drinking and getting drinks from the bar. Like that's when I ripped the Sandstorm pack. I ripped a bunch of generations. We filmed a bunch of content. Like, um, Ray became best friends with Jason Page. A lot happened that night.
I wish I didn't miss that.
It was a whole thing.
I went to bed early. I was dead.
You snuck away. You pulled a me on Saturday night, and you snuck off really early. It was like 1 minute he was there. He's the life of the party, and then the next second he was gone. It was just like a ghost. Like, hey, did anyone hear old school Pokemon? I just heard him a second ago, but no, nowhere to be found.
No, I passed out early Sunday night.
Getting too old.
Sunday was the night that I went a little later, so I was probably hanging out until like 2:30 or something, maybe 3. I felt like I was making up for like Saturday, like making up for lost time. So like everyone I didn't get to see, mostly for the most part on Saturday, I kind of hung out with on Sunday. I feel like so.
Yeah, there we go.
There's still lots of people who I saw for just like a split moment that I really would have liked to spend a lot more time with, and just for the sake of scheduling and for the sake of like how the timing and everything went, it's like it didn't end up happening how I would have wanted. So in Orlando, just so we know, we're going to be spending time with a lot of people, but it's just one of those things you never have enough time. There's always too much to do, and that's how you know it's a good weekend.
Oh yeah, those weekends always go by so quickly. I was there for I got in Wednesday afternoon and I left Monday night, so I was there for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like 5 days, and it felt like a day.
It goes by quick, yeah.
We almost missed our flight on the way back, Nick, by the way.
Oh, did you?
We carpooled to the airport together, and I didn't account for like
the massive security line.
A lot of things, yeah. Let's say the security line was crazy, and then I didn't check in on my phone before we got to the airplane, so I had to stand in the line because it was too late to check in once we got there. I had to actually stand in line to check in, so that was another like 45 minutes. So there's a whole bunch of things that happened that we almost ended up literally, if the flight wasn't delayed 15 or 20 minutes when it was a delay, we would not have made it. But we couldn't check our bag. We had to bring our bag and run to the actual terminal, and then they had to check the bag at the plane. We had to hand it some dude, like doorman, and he went and like brought it manually onto the plane. It was the most stressful thing ever, and that's someone who already hates flying, and I'm just so happy. And then, and not to mention that, the reason there was a delay is they were having computer issues. So the plane was having computer errors. And so literally they were on the speaker being like, hold on a second, guys. The plane's having some compuder difficulties. Let's try to restart it and see if that fixes anything.
Turn it off and turn it on again.
They should have shut it off and then said that. They should not have said that out loud. I don't want to hear them confusedly say, let's try to turn it on and turn it off. Okay.
That usually works.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, no, let's tell the guy who's like literally sweating through his like, clothes that's happening, who just ran through the entire terminal. So that was fun, but we made it back alive. It was probably the bumpiest trip I've ever been on. But thanks to Green Shiz, a friend of the channel, Green Shiz, and Peak That Shoe. They serenaded me with their content that they released the day before Collecticon. They made a long form content, and I literally just listened to a podcast for the whole thing, and I just sat there with my eyes closed and prayed that the plane didn't go down. So
there's a big benefit to not sleeping the whole weekend at the convention too. I slept most of the flight home, and I cannot sleep on planes or in cars. I wasn't sleeping, though. I was completely just passed out unconscious from sleep deprivation for the whole weekend. So it works out perfectly.
Your wife was probably like, look at him. He's so peaceful now after that. Yeah. He's all tuckered out. The big guy's all tuckered out now.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was a good time though, guys. Anyone who's listening, if you're feeling any FOMO, that just means you gotta come to the next one. That's all that means.
Yes.
Anymore.
Yes.
So it's not the last. It won't be the. It's not the first. It won't be the last. And we're gonna have many good times. So
And I think it's a little bit intimidating too. Like you see us big YouTubers who have each other on each other's podcasts, and everyone is so welcoming. Everyone is so nice. That's some feedback my wife gave. Like she's fairly introverted. She had a lot of conversations with different people, like just a lot of really genuinely nice people that we had in our section. And then beyond our section, just so many great people in the hobby. Come say hi. If you don't know who to talk to, don't know where to go, come to the old school Pokemon and catch them all collectible sections. And there's going to be a couple dozen really cool people to come talk to.
literally, just talk to anyone. You can't go wrong, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Before we wrap up, I really do want to get your guys' opinion on video about what's going on with this modern fiasco that is the UPC Charizards, because we talked about this in Denver a lot on like it was all talked about, and now it's like even more talked about because all the pre-orders are being dropped on every website, and the prices are going down. Everyone's like, oh look, I got two. I'm gonna cancel my pre-orders for my LGS because they were scamming me at 185. Now that I got them at 120, I'm gonna go ahead and cancel those orders. And so we're hearing that everywhere now. So I just want to hear your guys' opinion. You know where I stand on this fact. I've said it many times, and I'll say it again. This thing is going to be 150, or I've said 150 to 175. I was leaning more towards on the 150 mark. And that was me being super bearish, is what people would always tell me. Like, there's no way, Old Card Shop. There's no way these things are going under 200. You're crazy. People are pre-ordering for 300 right now. Well, as of right now, I'm pretty sure you can get a pre-order for like 175 or best offer on eBay. Buy it now with like shipping and everything. And to be honest, 150 feels high. Like 150, that's including the shipping costs, is what I'm factoring in. That's my price. That's where I think these things are going to sit. 120 plus 22.95 shipping. That's how much it's going to cost to get one of these.
Walmart and Target are very large stores with very large reach. Walmart has been up for a few hours now. Target was up for several hours today. Walmart, I heard, was limit 10 and Target is limit 2. I'm getting personally 100 of them between my two distributors, between the two waves, between initial in like a week or two and then December. I've heard some countries, some LGSs, wherever, they're getting like 4 waves spread between now and February. I've said it before. I think Nick and I had a clip from a prior podcast. Any product, I don't care what's in it, any product can be printed to some sub MSRP for multiple years. I don't think they will do it with Charizard UPC. But some people just, 3 unique Charizards, blah, 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 whatever. If you print 10 million of them, that will be sub 120 on the secondary market, guaranteed. Very large if. I don't think they're printing 10 million, but might they print 1 million, 2 million, 5 million? How many million is too many? I have no idea. I'm getting 100 of them. So obviously I hope it goes to 200. But more and more, like if I wake up tomorrow, if next week this Walmart pre-order up to 10 is there for 120, why is someone going to buy it from me for 150 on eBay or Troll and Toad, or 180 on eBay or Troll and Toad if Walmart literally has 500,000 or 1 million of them themselves? People just don't think that can happen, but it can for sure.
And furthermore, if you have 100 of them and you can't sell them for 120, you're going to start, because you got them for $80, you're going to start going to 115. You're going to start going to 110. And when you go to 110, what's that do to your neighbor? Makes them, well, I can't sell now because lower than that because he's got a better price. I have to go to 109. And at that point, it's literally a race to the bottom. So I was supposed to get 40 for my distributor when I got my allocations. That was what I was told. Because of other extenuating circumstances, that is no longer going to be the case. But that's a whole nother story. But we got our numbers before, and it was supposed to be 40, and that's a lot because we got to put it into perspective. I got 2 cases of the Celebrations UPC. That was what my initial allocation was, 8. And that was if I wanted them for like the price of for wholesale, and I had the option of buying more at a higher price if I wanted to pay more, pay the Pied Piper. So, and I ended up doing that with Celebrations UPCs. I will not be doing that with Charizard UPCs. I will not be paying above market like I did for Celebrations UPCs on the day of release, even though I have, the access to them. So it's a totally different situation. So, I mean, I'm just, yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys think. So I appreciate you. But what do
Sub
you think, Nick?
120, I'd be shocked. Like I think it'll still be 150 to 170, just because if you buy from Walmart, most people are paying sales tax. So 120 turns into 130, 132. I think it'll hold. I mean, the 3 unique Charizards, all this. I think it'll be 150 plus, but like it will not surprise me at all if it's 140, because I would be happy to sell. I'm not gonna sell out. I'm not gonna blow them out. I'm fairly tight liquidity wise right now, personally. The industry as a whole has a very common theme of being generally cash poor. So if and when these things pop up, people go heavy into them. If things are rough, people, there are definitely, if it's a matter of making payroll or not, if it's a matter of like keeping the lights on for your LGS, people will move these at 110, 100 if they have to. Absolutely.
I mean, booster boxes MSRP for 144, but when's the last time you saw a booster box go for 144? MSRP doesn't mean a damn thing. It's what the
but
market
booster boxes are different. Where we get the 3 Charizards. I kind of do agree with you though. I do think we could see 120 to 130 on them. I think I originally said shortly after release, within like a month or so. Not thinking of the timing. With Christmas, I don't think we're going to see it before Christmas, but I do think after Christmas, getting into next year, when they start releasing Wave 2, Wave 3, Wave 4, whatever, I do think we could see 120, 130, somewhere around there, at least for a short period. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And another thing is, I'll be really curious to see if all the, obviously we'll never know, but if all the Target pre-orders actually went through. Because that was up. I checked like multiple times throughout the day, and that was up like all day long today. Yeah. Until like dinner time for me. And so I'm sure there was a lot of people who pre-ordered those.
Walmart's been up limit 10 for a few hours now.
They were canceling some orders at Target for people who ordered on the same account. So it's limited to your account and your shipping address, I believe, because I know a couple people who tried to get multiple orders on Target and were denied on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and any other time. So they somehow have some way of knowing. They're not that good at it though, because like I was able to order 2 different orders through like 2 different phones when trying it out. So,
Well, don't say that. Now Target's going to find out.
Let them know. Tell them
3 hours into a podcast.
Tell them I sent them. Yes, no, the Charizard UPC is one of my favorite things to talk about right now because it's just such a polarizing topic. It's one of those things that just leaves a lot of meat on the bone for all kinds of things. Because like it also goes into that surrounding like ethics of like whether or not people should be pre-ordering or not, and like the canceling of the pre-orders, and then like the prices and all this stuff. It just brings a great load of content to the Pokemon world. So it's one of those things that we have to talk about, and we're all going to be talking about for months now, whether we like it or not. And until Nostalgianomics makes his big return and it's $300 again, and he says, I told you guys, and he comes out of nowhere and makes a video and everyone hates the Charizard UPCs again. But it'll be sub MSRP until it's not. That's my prediction. It'll be MSRP or sub MSRP until it's not.
We'll be finding out soon. I can't wait to get mine though. No matter what happens, I'm excited to open it.
Beautiful cards. I love the product. It makes me so bullish on the future of Pokemon. They are reading what we want so much. Like they don't give us those ugly ass V-Star cards like, you know, the V or V Max or a regular V. They just skipped it and gave us 3 alternate arts. Are you kidding me? Thank you. That's a premium collection. Thank you. That's what I'm talking about. That's an ultra premium collection.
It'll be interesting if they just go. I mean, you see what Wizards of the Coast is doing right now with Magic printing. I mean, this could be a less incendiary way of extracting a lot of money out of the hobby, but a lot of people will be really nervous if and when this does multi-year at retail. Like I could see almost an evolution scenario where they just print the crap out of it. People are so sick of it. Like, what is going on here? It's going for $110 for a year or two. And then people are just ripping it left and right, grading the promos. The promo pop goes to 100,000 5 years from now on all these. And then like 5 years from now, the sealed product just overnight goes to $500 again. Like,
so
it's a crazy world.
Is that a bullish or bearish world that we're living in? Because like,
I guess that's a combination, right? 5 years of sub MSRP followed by a 4X, like evolution style.
I'd say that's bullish because it's ending in like, you know, a lot of like people making a ton of money probably. But yeah, it's that, man, it is one of those things that I could definitely see being, because like, here's my bearish argument towards it. It's not, there are no metal cards in it. There's nothing in it that makes it hard to reprint. And Pokemon likes money. The bullish argument is that they don't usually do that with ultra premium collections and those types of things, even without the metal, you know, cards. It's still a big box, a big awkward shaped box with like magnets on it. And it's like they can't really remake it that easily. So like it's not like it is just super easy for them to reprint it. But if the incentive is there, and the incentive being if there's money on the line to be made, I don't see why they wouldn't do it. You know, and it's a collector's item. It's not a player's based item, so it's not like something that's gonna rotate out. So yeah, I could see it sitting for a long time. And if people don't have that FOMO, if there's not that rush, all this is a mentality shift. Like, all it takes is for people when they see it to not think, oh, I have to grab it because it's going to be worth more, and you're losing out. Like, if you literally see that item on the shelf and your mind isn't thinking, I'm losing out by not grabbing it, but your mind's thinking, I kind of want to get it because it's there and I like it, that's healthy. That's a good thing. But if you're just buying it because you're thinking, I don't have the money, but I feel like if I don't do this, it's financially irresponsible, well, that's a bit of a problem. That's where we're still in the hype dog in time, and I think we're out of that time now.
Yeah,
well, I would say so. I would say so for the most part.
In either case, there's going to be a lot of content made around it. It'll be interesting. Whatever direction it goes, it'll be talked about a lot.
Yeah, like
the
number one probably YouTube thing that's going to be talked about in the next 2 weeks, I'm sure.
Yep.
Definitely.
That being said, that was really the main thing that I wanted to bring up. Are there other things that you guys have that's big on your mind that you're thinking? Because I literally spoke for like an hour about UPCs there, so I apologize for derailing us. But we got on I'm a modern guy, so I have to talk about modern, you know?
It's true. We gotta throw some modern in here every once in a while.
Mm-hmm. Bad. Boo, Silver Tempest. What do you guys think?
Oh yeah, the alt arts and Silver Tempest just came out while we were in Denver, or maybe a few days before. But yeah, I am not a fan of that Lugia artwork. I do not like that. It'll be interesting to see what it looks like in person, but the pictures that we've seen so far, it just looks terrible.
Yeah.
It looks fine to me.
I thought that Reggie Drago was the chase. I thought the alternate Reggie was going to be what everyone was chasing. What are you talking about, old school? Nobody cares about Lugia.
That's true.
What are the other ones that are going to be? Not the Reggie. My bad. Not the Lugia. What are the other alternates in the set? Surely there's going to be some fire, right? Surely things people care about.
Nope.
Oh, unknown. That's right. The other alternates are unknown. how many of those unknown collectors are there out there? There's probably that's the one that I think is stonking the most. Okay, my bad, guys. There's got to be a good alternate art in there, right? Okay, so there's not the Lugia's mids, the Regidrago's the real chase because there's a Lugia in the Regidrago, so that's the Lugia everyone's going for. Is the
Oh,
one
there we go. There we go.
that's because you can actually see that Lugia. Now I get it. It's like an Inception. They're doing an Inception with us where they're putting the Pokemon that's a chase and another chase Pokemon. So they want us to think we're okay. I get you. Okay. I get it. No, but Silver Tempest, I'm ready for it to be a completely Astral Radiance type mids set. A Rayquaza character rare that looks just like the regular VMAX from Evolving Skies is not going to save like the set. I'm sorry. So that's my take. I don't know if that's spicy or not, but I don't know.
Yeah,
if,
it's certainly no Cosmic Eclipse.
We're
It's a
getting
lot
one more.
There,
We're getting one more holiday set or like half set before the end of the block too, right? For January.
Oh, are we? Okay.
V-Star Universe is the one that we saw in the German uncut sheet that leaked with all those like full art Pokemon without the trainers. Do you guys like that style? Do you think that's kind of cool? You think it's gonna take over like trainer gallery kind of thing?
I liked it. I thought it was cool.
I'm easy to please. I think the Lugia alt art's fine. I think those are fine. Yeah.
I mean, it's fine if you like midsy sets. Yeah, I mean, I guess so. If you like,
It's fine for you because all you care about is the money you'll make at release.
And listen, I hope it stonks out, and I hope I'm wrong. Every time I say this kind of stuff, sometimes people are like on the keyboard, like "Brr." They get all mad at me for saying it. Like I legitimately hope I'm wrong every time I'm bearish, because when I'm bearish, trust me, I'm not making money. Like if I'm right about being bearish, it means I'm not making as much money. So I want to be a freaking like hype dog, you know. I want it to be like just everything's going to be, but I have to call it like I see it. That's all. I just have to say it.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I don't think it's going to be anything special.
I was really hoping for the ending set to be something awesome, though. So maybe I guess with that extra holiday set, or not extra, but just the holiday set everyone forgets about, maybe that'll be what we're all waiting for. I think that's going to be like the VMAX Climax for us, basically. Even though they're not going to be using the VMAX Climax cards, but it's going to be like that for us. And that I think it's going to be a set that has a ton of hits. Like you're getting a bunch of hits in every pack. Like those character rares are probably going to be very, very easy to pull. I'd imagine it's just gonna be loaded up, and it's gonna be just like a celebration of Pokemon, kind of like VMAX Climax felt. So that's what I would feel.
Speaking of VMAX Climax, those boxes are up to like $75-$80.
Why you gotta say that right now and rub it in? Like I didn't buy any when it was like 40 or 50. Like I was telling everyone and myself, like, oh, what's the best buy in Pokemon right now? Oh, it's VMAX Climax. I'll go and do that. Yes. No, I never did that. So yeah, I'm a fool. So I'm a fool.
I didn't buy as many as I should have, but I bought like 100 or 150. I forget exactly what I bought, but I think it was 100.
Too bad Rusty opened all of his.
Yeah, too bad those singles are worth literally nothing. Like, it's can't even give them away, basically. I can't even pay $1 per card on a lot of the singles. Like when people come up with them on bulk, it's pretty rough. Like those character rares and stuff, unless it's the evolutions or even that. It's like if it's not getting a 10, you're lucky to get 20-25 bucks for it.
Yeah. But
yeah,
I didn't have anything else for tonight. Did you guys have any other topics?
I think that covers everything. Anything you guys have looking forward to upcoming on your channel? I mean, we talked about like the next Collecticon a little bit, Orlando, but like shorter term.
Well, we are currently in the process of sort of finding an editor, someone who's going to be like trying to take over some of the production, social media side of our channel. So if you know anyone who's a social media manager, an editor, someone who does all that in one, who wants to work with like a Poke Boomer like myself, I'm currently in the market for one of those. We are on the cusp. We are literally knocking on the door of our channel becoming monetized from watch time. So if you go and like, sub, and comment on our videos, it helps us on the algorithm, helps us grow. We greatly appreciate that. But yeah, we are pretty much just making that push, and so we're trying to get a little bit more serious here. You may see more content from us, and so yeah, we'll throw the hook out there. If any of you fancy editors without much to do wants to take on a new project, I am a Poke Boomer who's looking for someone to help me with editing because my editing skills are pretty bad. So yeah, I'll throw that out there. But yeah, just like, comment, and sub to these guys. As always, love to hear and talk to you you all. And if you have any questions for me, feel free to reach out. So I don't know. What do you guys got? You guys got anything for the end of it?
And we'll be sure to leave Josh's information in the description.
Yep.
But as far as stuff going on for me, I have nothing. Just hanging out, relaxing. No YouTube plans, nothing.
Nick's done with YouTube. Nick's personal channel's done. He's given up.
Doing good until Collecticon. No, I'm gonna do. It's not gonna happen this week. Next week, though. I want to do a video talking about those Pokemon Go pin collection boxes. And then kind of like a recap video of the Collecticons that happened this, and kind of like what I learned throughout going to all the different ones. Exactly, those ones. Those ones are good guys right there.
My second favorite Pokemon Go product, right behind those Radiant Eevee boxes. I absolutely love those products.
No, I like those too. What about the Dragonite? I like that one.
I'm not a fan. I don't like all the packaging. I don't like the ball. I think it's extra. I don't like that it's 9 packs instead of like 8 or 10. It just weirds me out. I don't like anything about that product. I don't like that it's a square. It's in a weird shape that they've never done before. I don't like it all. Nope. Don't like it.
I've been keeping one of each product since like Celebrations, and the stuff adds up so quickly.
Way too quickly.
It's absurd.
I keep sealed cases of my favorite products, but I don't keep any single items or anything. So I literally pick 1 or 2 items from each thing that I like, and I'll keep like those products, but I don't go for every product.
I kept way too much. I have, going back to like Generations, one of most things. One of it, like, I need to just send it all to Troll and Toad. It's way too much. It's filling shelves. It's way too much. There's just too much product
at this point. It's like super mismatched, and they don't even make the jumbos the same size anymore. Like some collection boxes are like an inch longer than others, and others like a little taller. Like, it's infuriating. If I was a sealed collector with Pokemon, or if I wanted some consistency with my collection, it would be infuriating. So that being said, not into the new Dragonite thing. The only 2 items I touch with Pokemon Go is ETBs because they're dirt cheap and I'm just farming them for packs. And I do like the full art Mewtwo, and there's other added value there. And to be honest, the only 2 items I would hold for Pokemon Go, and this is not financial advice, this is just my personal opinion about that, are those pin boxes I just showed up, because they're just so nice and compact, and they have great starters in them, awesome pins, and they're pretty cheap. And also the Radiant Eevee boxes, which Shiny Eevee, yeah, thank you, sign me up. It's same price as the ETB. Keep your full art Mewtwo. I'll take a Shiny Eevee all day in a playmat. So, and a pin, and a nice pin. So those are my 2 plays in Pokemon Go. Anyone who disagrees, I'd love to hear it for why. But those are the 2 best products. And I like Pokemon Go. Everyone gives it such a hard time. I think it's a really good set, and I think it's going to hold up well over the long term. I just think that right now it's in a bunch of really, really good sets. Like, it's competing with some very, very difficult sets. So that's what I'll say about Pokemon Go as the last thing.
Oh yeah. What about you over there, Dan? What are your plans for YouTube?
I've got a bunch of Metazoo Seance behind me. By the time that you see this, especially 3 hours and 16 minutes into this video, my live stream ripping seance the day before release will already be over. But I've bought 1% of the print run. I am opening 250 boxes, 0.5% of the print run I'm going to open personally. Unfortunately, I only received 24 boxes so far of the 500 I bought. So hopefully they come soon. I don't know when they're going to land. But I'm gonna do a lot of ripping, a lot of selling singles. Map is a thing that is going to be violated. I'm probably gonna be unable to sell it sealed, aside from a few people tomorrow that are probably gonna support me at above market price. It is what it is there, but that's gonna take up a lot of my next couple weeks. I'm gonna do a super quick sneak peek. I have upcoming, not the tour dates for Collecticon. I have upcoming. Where's my camera? My desk cam is like frozen and not working because that's not what's there.
Technical
Yeah,
difficulty.
airplane, just restart it, right? Just
Yeah,
turn it off
somehow.
Oh, do you have to zoom it out maybe? Or like expand it?
No, like I'm putting my hand in front of it and it's
Oh.
not. I don't know what's going on there. Apparently, it doesn't want me to give a sneak peek. I guess I'll have to do it this way. But I have one of the most exciting collections I've bought in years. I'm not going to be able to show you it all.
EX Muse. There's like a fire red, leaf green, birds there. There's like
Yeah,
EXs.
I have a very small stack here. There's over 4,000 cards stated as pack fresh, like pack to sleeve or pack to binder page. So like most of these things are in binder pages. I have a stack of binder pages over there like this tall. I've looked through a lot of them. There's like everything from WotC to XY era, Sun and Moon era, full arts, hyper rares. There are a lot of like included in that 4,000 hollows, reverse hollows too. I mean, there's a lot of cheaper stuff, but amazing Troll and Toad Evo inventory. A lot of gradable stuff. A lot of these cards and these card savers are like minty big hitters. I'm so excited. Like I'm probably gonna my whole live next week. I'll probably live for like 4 hours, just going through these binder pages, pulling cards out, creating grading piles. It's tight. Like I want to get a lot of these out at 15. I don't have much time. I do think, I guess that's one thing we can finish off with maybe. When will we get sub 18 again? Because the $15 does expire on October 31st. I plan to get maybe a few hundred more out, a lot of these being included. I had some other stuff on like the back burner that I wanted to get out maybe if I had time, but this stuff's going to skip the queue to go out at 15. I think though by January or February, if not even before the end of the year, I think we could see 15 back again. Potentially even seeing sub 15 by early mid next year. I still think I'm going to beat James in the bet. This is actually the card that I've bet with him. If PSA opens sub $10 grading between now and the end of next year, I have to give James this beautiful unlimited PSA 10 Pikachu, which its value goes down by the day every day.
Is that the terminology? Sub $10?
I need to verify still. I forget if it's sub 10 or 10.
That's like a month.
I know. I keep forgetting to verify.
If it hits 10, you should win that, because if it gets 10, that's fair. It shouldn't have to go below 10, because I don't know if we'll ever see it below 10 in a long time. But 10 is very realistic.
Yeah.
Okay, can I take a shot at it then? Okay. So do we think that we'll see, what do we think that the grading is going to happen? I think we're going to see a holiday special at the end of November, beginning of December for $12.
12.
Dang,
I think
maybe.
we're going to go a month with nothing. We're going to go a month with like the $18 being open and the 15 being closed. And then December, they're going to open a holiday special to try to get as many subs in for the last month of the year to just pump out that last little bit of profit and before the holidays. And they'll call it like a holiday special or whatever, Christmas, whatever it is. And they'll make it some juicy, like leaving plenty of meat on the bone just to flood them. I talked to PSA earlier today because one of my orders had a hold put on it because apparently I had sent so many cards in this month that one of my orders I didn't remove from the sealed packs, the Rudy cards. I kept them in their sealed packs and just put them in the top loader, and I didn't even take them out. And they had to contact me to make sure that I wanted them to open them to grade them and not grade them as a sealed pack. I was like, yeah, open that bitch. I don't want to pay $50. Open it up. And so they took my order off hold. But I asked the guy as I was talking to him, I said, hey, have you guys been super busy this week, like this month? I know that you don't know everything. You're just kind of taking phones or whatever. But from what you've seen, have you guys gotten overloaded? Do you feel like you're going to be like keeping up, or like opening up, closing down? What's the deal? I was just trying to read the room a little bit with the guy I was talking to, and he was very, very confident that they weren't overworked and they didn't take more than they were supposed to, basically, and that he told me the turnaround time was 120, like it stated. He's like, and we're staying to that. He's like, but I will say that most people have been getting things through quicker. So he was pretty confident, and he didn't sound like he was just blowing smoke. He was like, I'm not overworked. It's fine. We're just we have the staff for it. It's working right along. So it gave me a little more confidence to say that I think we'll see probably a holiday special at like 12, but that's about after a month of not seeing something, probably.
Yeah. I think it's going to be I can see where you're coming from, ending the year on a bang. That would be awesome. But I do think it'll be next year. I think it'll be January. We'll see 15, and then next year, like early summer, we'll see 12, and I do think we'll get back down to 10 by the end of next year. I don't think we'll ever get below 10, but at 10, I can definitely see by.
You mean bulk to the public, not talking specials? Because when I say 12, I mean special for Collectors Club holders. I don't mean like bulk. I think bulk will go down to like 15 or 18 or stay what it's at, per se. So I do think there's always going to be that slight level where like there will be that higher tier where it's a little bit more, but there'll always be specials where it's like the real cost. So
Yeah, yeah.
Talking about the specials mostly.
Yeah. I think the actual cost will be 15 January, then they'll drop it to 12, then 10.
I need to find that screenshot. I looked a little bit, I can't find it, but if the bet is sub 10, I'm definitely going to win because they're not going to go to $9. If it's 10, though, I might lose.
You're actually starting to admit defeat over here.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've heard that from you.
Man. PSA has been quicker than I think everyone was expecting. To be 100% honest, I think they heard all of us like ragging on them for the last couple of years. They're like, okay, we got to start we have to deliver a little bit once in a while.
Yeah.
Like, occasionally they have to give the people what they want. You know, they can't just take from them all the time. I mean,
yeah.
or can they? That being said, that was a blast, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. It was fun having you.
I feel like you were one of the people that we talked about earlier. I didn't talk to enough in Denver, so to be able to talk to you for a few hours, a few days later was great. I'm sure we'll talk more down the line too. We'll talk in Orlando, but yeah, a lot of fun. A lot of fun as always.
Yeah, thanks again, guys. And until the next time, you guys better be liked and sub to these guys' channel because we are getting them to that we're getting them to that 1,000 mark. So let's go. Like and sub to PokeFlipz. Let's get them there, guys. All right. Thanks again.
And we got to get your watch hours up.
Both of those things better happen before the next episode of each. So you go pump those numbers.
Yeah, if you guys go and put it on, just put it on repeat. You can go to sleep, and turn the volume down, watch through everything. Just go to the recommended, and it would be great. So just everyone, if 10, 15 of you guys do that, we'll be golden. So
there we go. Yeah. There we go.
And we'll Nick and I will see you in 2 weeks. No guests for our next episode. We should be doing it live that Thursday, wherever it lands. So yeah, we will catch you all later.